Westeros!
Welcome to our Morning Turners podcast.
I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Kyle.
And we're the fucking Morning Throners.
And welcome back to another episode of your favorite Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We're the Morning Throners. We got Danny 4 on AG4.
AG4? Afterglow.
AG4.
I keep forgetting.
AG4. Danny 4, AG4. Good chapter. Action-packed, running around chapter.
How would you think? Awesome chapter.
I feel like if I knew more of what any of that meant, it might have been a better chapter. It definitely left me kind of spinning at the end of like, I'm sure.
As it should.
Yeah, and like I was reading it, I'm like, I'm sure this is all just like loads of spoilers, and they're going to have a long section at the end this time because I'm probably not going to catch 90% of it.
I've been taking notes on this chapter for a little while, and so today on the way to work, I was listening to the audiobook to just refresh on the beginning part that I haven't read in like a week or two. And I got like partially the way, like basically to like where she's going in, and I was just like, you know what, like, and I started playing Hotel California. That this chapter just like a Hotel California vibe. Like you can go in, you can never leave. You don't know Hotel California by the Eagles?
I know the song. I don't know like the words.
Like if I was gonna
check out anytime you like,
but you can never leave. Like that's what they're trying to do to Danny here, right? So I don't know. I just get that vibe. If I was the director and I was filming this scene, that's Hotel California is 100% the background song.
And that's why you don't score movies or TV.
His directions were so easy though. Like I mean, it was pretty easy.
Yeah, with I guess just temptation to break the rules, but
well, they tried to tick her a few times.
Yeah.
The only one that kind of got me in it was because I wasn't like it was hard to picture. It was the very last one.
The door behind the door.
The whole time I'm like, it's the last door on the left, you dumb bitch. Like,
well, she got that one. She is 13 also.
It took her a while. No, she's claiming to be a woman.
I thought we said she was like 15 now.
She might be 14 now. Yeah.
Well, and he said something about like, come child, follow me. And she's like, I'm not a child. So therefore.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. To be fair, she
just
did birth a dragon and is leading a group of people. All right, let's get it going. She arrives at the house of the Undying. I guess riding up, walking up. It doesn't really, I don't know if it says.
I think she's riding, but she's with some people.
She's with her cats.
Definitely in that thing because Zaxos is inside it.
Gotcha, yeah.
So they're in his palanquin.
She's a little underwhelmed.
Well, yeah. Well, it just looks like a falling apart, dilapidated building. She
expected, like, yeah, I mean, everything else in Karth is, like, just amazing, right? Karth is, like, this spectacular city, like, seemingly no poverty, all this shit, like, everything's, like, studded in gold.
Tits hanging out. And she gets here, and it's literally just, like, a one-level, big-ass stone ranch house, basically. Like, long, curving ranch house. Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like it was, like, snaking. Yeah. Curvy. Long.
Drogon doesn't like the sight of it either.
Well, yeah, but you're right, Jeff. She does say it's also a ruin, so I guess like it does seem like it's kind of falling apart.
Yeah, there's like tiles missing on the roof, and like the mortar's all falling out, but it's all magic, right? Like I mean, especially once they get inside,
just a facade. Yeah,
yeah. Outside is like all these blue trees, right?
Yeah, blue leaves with black. They're actually black trees, right?
Finally explains their lips, huh?
Yes, that's what. Yeah, so Danny says this is where that stuff they drink the shade of the evening that. They make her drink some before she goes in. The stuff that makes their lips blue comes. Danny thinks or says it comes from these trees, the leaves of these trees. So the trees are blue leaves, black bark.
Yep,
just weird as fuck.
Yeah, I mean we've got a white tree with red leaves. I mean,
yeah, in Westeros,
that's kind of weird too.
Yeah, but nobody's drinking Westeros juice or leaf juice in Westeros.
Yeah, true.
Maybe they should try. They can start tripping.
Tea.
Well, I mean, not like they're not. Nobody's walking around with red lips. Like these guys are walking around with blue leaves.
Most people are.
Lips aren't really red. They're more of like a pale or what's that nude color?
Kool-Aid. They got the blue Kool-Aid lips.
Yeah, nobody's walking around with Kool-Aid
like
lips.
Popsicle.
Or my
popsicle
sister
red.
After she's been sucking on a Gatorade. Yeah. You know how kids like put their lips inside the bottle?
That gives you the mustache.
She gets her fucking circle of red. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. You don't see that in Westeros, but I bet they got it all over in Westeros. Or at least the warlocks do.
Jogo, Ago, Jorah, and Zaro all urge her not to go.
Yeah, they don't like it.
Zaro's still on like this, hey, I got this little girl that's going to make you sing on my pleasure barge. He really likes this girl. And everyone else is like, this isn't right. Like, don't trust the Magi. We already had one bad run-in.
Yeah, the one funny thing that like that Aggo and Jogo, they're like, yo, we're your blood riders. Like that means if you go in here and you die, we got to go kill ourselves. So can we come in with you? Like just to watch your back. Like we're tied to you.
Or let's just not do it. Let's just not do it.
Yeah.
Just minor correction, but it does kind of matter. These are warlocks in here, not just magi. Like we've seen a magi, and they kind of even say that. They're like, that lady was crazy. Mm-hmm. These guys are even more into this. Yeah.
And to Danny's point, like she had knowledge though, so I need some knowledge too. That's why I need to go, and I need to go alone.
Yeah, right. That's where I guess we didn't really cover it at all. It's not too important, but like where Danny's left off, like last chapter, basically she's traveled across bloodways to get here. Now she's here and she's like, cool, what do I do? She's basically made a little petting zoo out of her dragons for a little bit, made some money on that, enough to make some big time bribes to a really powerful organization who then just shut her down. So now she's like, I got no other option. Like this pirate has been telling me come here the whole time.
Don't forget there was a fire ladder that a dude climbed into the sky on, and then it disappeared.
I actually did forget that
happened in the chapter, but it doesn't help her. It doesn't really help her.
I know. Like, what do we do? I feel like that was a pretty major event in the chapter.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm just saying, like, she is at a crossroads where like, she doesn't know what to do, and this seems like her last option.
Yeah, she came looking for 3 people's help, right? Or 3 groups' help. And now this is the 3rd group. The first 2 didn't really help her.
Well, I mean, the 3 people that come to see her, one of them's Quaithe, who is there with the fire ladder thing. Like, she's definitely weird, but like, she doesn't really like offer any aid. I mean, she gives like wisdom. Like, she says, "What, go west or something, north to south."
That's what I'm saying. Though, like, she's not a lead. I guess is what I'm getting at. She's trying everything she can here. She's kind of wandering through the desert,
Yeah, and my point was like, this is like the last straw. Like she's not like this wasn't top of the list. Yeah, she just feel like she got nowhere to turn.
Okay, yeah. This was her. I'm like, well, fuck. Gotta talk to the
I mean, she could always be like, all right, fuck it, I'll just stay here and chill. But she doesn't
keep the
want that.
petting thing going, I guess. Yeah.
And so she tells everyone like, nope, I must go alone. And then Jorah's like, no, all right, since I'm not your blood rider, take me. And Pri pops out of nowhere, like, nope, she's got to go alone.
Yep, by herself.
And he's like, oh, fuck, was he here the whole time?
It's like, come on, like, she had to go alone to all these other places, right?
Yeah, she had to go in alone to see the Pureborn?
Like, they should have known that she was going in here alone, like, and that there was no option, no choice.
Yeah.
Isn't it a little, I mean, I know it's not a person, but that Drogon gets to go with her.
Thank God.
I was thinking the same thing.
Thank God Drogon gets to go with her. She's fucked in here. He saves her at like every turn.
Yeah, I mean, she's getting like raped by Undying.
Not even before that. We'll get to it, but like she's. I feel like there's 2 or 3 times where I'm like, wow, if Drogon wasn't here, she'd be fucked here.
Yeah, we'll get to it. We don't have to linger on it. But it's like, I mean, to Paya Priest's point, like, wouldn't you want to be like, no, leave that fucking thing?
It's an animal, though. It wasn't a.
Yeah. Well, I guess if he would have known hindsight 2020, he'd have been like, nah, keep that shit outside.
Why though? Like, did he not want her to succeed?
I mean, he's cursing her at the end, so I can only.
Well,
and he tries to pull a knife on her.
Well, we
can get there. And I'm kind of with both of you guys. I thought the first read through, I thought that Pyatt was just like attacking her because he was on the same side as the people on the inside who seemed to not want to let her out. But then on the second read through, I'm like, well, she did just like burn down his like palace. So like, even if like he was okay with that, he might just be pissed about that. But
all right, so it's just them 2 and Drogon walking up now, and she feels like it's a pretty short path, but they've been walking for a little bit. Maybe it's like it's already playing mind tricks with her. Like a straight path became crooked, or
well, yeah, she's like it looked like it was real close to the road, but it's taken a while, right? And then he disappears down or takes her down some side path.
Well, she asked, like, why are we walking by the door? And he's like, oh, you don't want to go in that way. Like, you go in that way, you gotta come out. That's why I think where I started listening to the Hotel California when they said that line in the audiobook.
So one question, and I don't know if it matters, and that was my question, I guess, is does it matter which dragon is which at this point? Like, so she's kind of always walking around with a different one, it seems. Drogon, which one is he? Is he the black one?
The black and red one, yeah.
Yep.
From my point of view, I don't think it matters.
I usually just mentally, I'm like, oh, dragon with her. Like, I don't care which one it is.
I mean, as the story goes on, they do like become more different, just like the wolves are kind of different, right? All the Stark wolves are kind of, I mean, so like early on it's fine to think of like,
every animal has its own,
early on it's fine to like, when you hear ghost, it's like, oh, the big wolf, right? But now that we know like, oh, ghost is quiet and the other ones like aren't as quiet, and like, right, we know shaggy dog's a little more, so like you kind of learn as you, it's the same thing early on. Dragon is good enough for now.
So as they're walking in, Pyapri gives her the instructions on how she needs to operate the House of the Undying if she wants to make it out. Right. When you enter, you will find yourself in a room with 4 doors. The one you have come through and 3 others. Take the door to your right. Each time the door to your right. If you should come upon a stairwell, climb. Never go down, and never take any door but the first door to your right.
Yep.
And that's like what she got.
Easy enough. Easy.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like it should have been like, right, left, center or something. I feel like they should have made it tougher if they were really trying to keep her inside.
I feel like they throw her for a few loops. I mean, like we said, we'll get there, but
they do. And I mean, it's to kind of keep everybody in check, like make sure everybody that makes it to this room is meant to be there, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So like, I get that, but at the same time, like what I'm saying is that if they were really trying to trip her up, I think they could have done better.
Yeah, I mean, they could have made it a lot harder.
Yeah, I think it's more of a not logical. Like, are you smart enough to remember this pattern? But more of like,
are you disciplined enough? Are you disciplined enough to follow the rules that we gave you?
That's one. And B, think on your feet. Like, because like a couple times, like she's like when she has to do like the first door on the left, she feels like something's chasing her.
No,
we never really see anything, but she like feels like it's under. It's like last door on the left, whatever. But she feels like she's under pressure there. And besides that, I feel even more that it's not really about either of those things. It's more of like a test your will. Like the last room is more about
that's what I'm saying, I guess. It doesn't feel like it's put there to trap her inside on purpose, which is kind of what we were on before. Somebody had mentioned that they were like trying to keep her there.
Yeah.
All right, so she comes up to a door with a dwarf there holding a serving tray with Shade of the Evening.
Smallest dwarf she's ever seen. Weird dwarf.
Yeah, he's got like a strange face and stuff too.
Like a rat-like face, something like that.
His face pinched and pointed snoutish, but he was dressed in a delicate livery of purple and blue.
I think the next time we see some extra dwarfs, she says that they had like something faces.
She sees some more, that's for sure.
Having some fun. So she explains the taste of how the Shade of the Evening. She's worried that her lips turn blue. But
I do want to say one thing that we skipped over. Pyatt tells her, he's like, you're going to see many things when you're in there. Visions of loveliness, visions of horror, wonders and terrors, days gone by, days yet to come, and days that never were. So he basically says you're going to see the past, you're going to see future, and you're going to see shit that is just like not true. Which is kind of like an easy, I feel like a cop out for a writer who's like trying to put a bunch of prophecies, but then some of them just like don't work out. He's like, that just like that was never were anymore. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that one just doesn't count.
But at the same time, like I think it's to put doubt in her too. Like,
for sure.
She's not just getting all the answers right here.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a George cop out. I'm saying just like that. One thing I think is just important to keep in mind as we go through these that like some of them are just like total bullshit. So,
and all right, and to your point, else the Shade of the Evening is to open her mind up to these visions, right?
Yeah.
So
Bran style. He needs some of this.
Yeah. Be crazy.
Well, that would help him find his third eye that, what's his name, keeps telling Jogan.
Yeah. Jeff, read that line. I like that line.
One flute will serve only to unstop your ears and dissolve the call from off your eyes, so that you may hear and see the truths that would be laid before you.
Yeah, so then she drinks this stuff, and the first sip tasted like ink and spoiled meat. Foul. But when she swallowed it, it seemed to come to life within her. She could feel tendrils spreading through her chest, like fingers of fire coiling around her heart. And on her tongue was a taste of honey and anise and cream, like mother's milk and Drogo's seed, like red meat and hot blood and molten gold. It was all the taste she had ever known and none of them. And then the glass was empty. So some weird ass drink here.
It's like the first sip of whiskey.
Yeah, it tastes like cum, and it sucks.
Maybe the fire tendrils.
I'm just saying how it spreads through your chest. Yeah. It also doesn't taste like every taste in the world. Well, to Danny it did.
But she says like taste she's never known, like molten gold. Like that's weird. Like how do you taste molten gold? Only Viserys has tasted that.
She said every taste she's ever known and none of them. Like that. I mean, what the hell? What was it?
Weird as fuck. Yeah.
All right, so she can enter, and she finds herself in the first room with 4 doors, just like you said, one on each wall.
Yep.
Easy. And square room.
She's like, bam.
Right on the right.
I got this motherfucker. It's like
level 1.
Easiest multiple choice question ever.
Tutorial room. Easy. She goes through it. So now she goes through, basically she's in a room, looks just like the first one, goes through that door, and she's like, what the fuck? So why at this point is she like, what the fuck?
Well, she knows, yeah. She's like, this isn't real. Because she'd be outside at this point.
If you draw a line, she'd be back outside. If you do 2 rights, you're back right where you came from. So already she's like, wait a minute, this doesn't make any fucking sense.
If it's perfect squares?
Perfect squares, yeah. You'd be right back outside. So she's like, okay, this is fucking weird.
So she does it again.
Yep. And then this time, oval room.
No, it's the 4th time it's an oval room.
Okay, gotcha. 4th time, oval room, 6 doors. Again.
Yep.
First one on the right. Now she's in a long-ass hallway. So this is where, like, some of the weird shit starts happening.
All the doors are on her left, just that she can see, and then torches along the right side.
Yeah, and she can't see the end wall.
Shit's banging on the doors. Oh, no, we're not there yet.
Yeah, I mean, kind of. I don't...
Because first Drogo freaks out.
Yeah, he flies out, crashes.
Well, so she's walking down, and she's hearing a bunch of shit, no?
Well, she does mention that she's walking a long time, which I will say later, she sees Pyatt again, and she tells him that she's been walking for hours. And to me, I'm like, where do the hours... Like, this chapter doesn't seem like it's taking hours for her. But I guess some of these sections, she's literally walking, 45 minutes, half hour.
And she says she ran until she, couldn't run anymore.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, she's also stopping to look at some of these scenes and stuff, too. So anyway, she comes into this new hallway. Torches on the right, rooms only on the left, from what she sees. Drogon freaks out, starts flapping his wings, and then he flies into the wall or something.
Yeah.
He flew 20 feet before thudding to an undignified crash.
Yeah, he just fell into the ground. At first I thought he hit a back wall, but then she goes on to say there's no back wall.
But this is the first they're flying, right? That's the point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's pretty shitty. There's a shitty carpet at the ground that maybe at one point was good.
She thinks she can hear rats and piping.
Yeah, so she's hearing rats, she's hearing shit, and Drogon hears them too.
He doesn't like it.
And he does not. He's screaming, wants to chase him.
He just doesn't like it.
Yeah, he doesn't like it. And then other sounds, even more disturbing, came through some of the closed doors. So
yeah, and then she says some of the doors were open, and she really didn't want to look, but just too tempting.
When it's a girl getting banged,
how do you not, right?
Yeah, so that's the first room. In one room, a beautiful woman sprawled naked on the floor while 4 little men crawled over her. They had radish, pointed faces and tiny pink hands, like the servitor who had brought her the glass of shade. One was pumping between her thighs, another savaged her breast, worrying at her nipple with his wet red mouth, tearing and chewing.
Be gentle, bro.
Yeah, I didn't understand this room, really, other than it was just kind of horrible stuff that she was saying meant to drive her out.
She left, right? And then she came upon...
corpses.
A feast of corpses. Yep.
Go ahead, Kyle, read that one.
Farther on, she came upon a feast of corpses, savagely slaughtered. The feasters lay strewn... So, while I'm going through this, I'm probably going to remember some of these questions. So, the feasters lay strewn... What does that mean? The feast of corpses? So it's the corpses are strewn about?
I think the corpses were eating there.
Yeah, that's why I took it. The feasters lay strewn across overturned chairs.
Okay. It was a room full of eating. Okay, I got you. Farther on, she came upon a feast of corpses, savagely slaughtered. The feasters lay strewn across overturned chairs and hacked trestle tables, asprawl in pools of congealing blood. Some had lost limbs, even heads. Severed hands clutched bloody cups, wooden spoons, roast fowl, heels of bread. In a throne above them sat a dead man with the head of a wolf. He wore an iron crown and held a leg of lamb in one hand as a king might hold a scepter, and his eyes followed Dany with mute appeal. So, I mean, obviously the wolves Starks, right?
Yep.
I mean, and I'm just making connections. You don't have to tell me that.
That is the sigil of the Stark family.
Yeah, so I mean, that's what we know of the wolves. The king, Iron Crown, shit.
I will say, you said wolf just like Jeff does, wolf, when you read that. Wolf. I just wanted to say that before it went out of my head.
I mean, wolf. That's how you
give you a second.
That's how you pronounce it, wolf.
It's not how you pronounce it.
I don't know. That's how wolf. We pronounce it around here. Incorrectly, I'm sure, but I don't care. Yeah, no, I mean, it's either Rob or I don't see why it would be Robert, because he's not really a Stark, Baratheon. So I mean, Rob is really the only answer, I guess. That's where I'm at with that one. But
so Rob's going to die at a feast, is what you're saying?
I don't know if the
Rob's
going to
be at a feast where everyone's dead.
Oh, yeah,
his eyes are still moving.
Yeah, that was kind of where I was at, I guess.
Or is it the Mona Lisa?
Mona Lisa because his eyes follow Danny.
Yeah. All right,
next one.
She fled from him, but only as far as the next open door. And she remembers this spot that she's at. So
she recognizes the door frame here, right? Is what happens?
I think it's just like the whole deal because it's like wooden beams and carved animal faces. So I think it's a room.
This room. Gotcha, she remembered the great beams. Yeah.
Oh yeah, she said she could see a lemon tree outside the window too.
So she inside looking out.
Well, she hasn't gone through. I don't think she's looking into a room that
she's looking into a room that has a window to the outside.
Yeah.
All right. So I know this room. She remembered those great wooden beams and the carved animal faces that adorn them, and there outside the window a lemon tree. The sight of it made her heart ache with longing. It is the house with the red door, the house in Bravos. And then this old man, Sir Willem, who's the one that escaped them or like helped them escape.
Yep.
And he's telling her to come on.
He was basically the Sir Roderick when all the shit was going down.
Yeah, and he was going to take her home.
Yeah, he's like, come back. Yeah, everything's great here. That was like at least the first personal challenge for her. Yeah. You know?
So. And this one she does by herself. I don't like Drogon doesn't give her any help here, right?
Yeah, she just she's like, she realizes she's like, wait a second, this guy's dead. Like, what am I seeing? I know.
Why does she say the sweet old bear?
I don't know. I guess it's just what she called him. It does give you a little Gior Mormont.
He's a cow. He's a cow man. Isn't
but he might be like huge and hairy and
bear looking.
Yeah, just like a bear looking guy. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely been described like that before.
I don't really remember him. To be honest.
I think she mostly remembers him like when she's old enough to have memories. She remembers him as like being sick in a bed. Like, I think he was, like, old and dying in a bed. But I think he was, like, a pretty big dude.
All right. So now she walks for a while, right?
Yep. Now she's running.
Yeah, she's like, fuck this shit. No more looking into doors. So I think she's running past a bunch of open doors here. Come on, Danny. Come on. Think about all the cool visions we could have got.
Drogon's giving her some lashes on the back to keep it going.
He's probably like, don't look at this shit.
Get this shit in. Let's get moving. Yeah. Let's get out of here. And then a great pair of bronze doors appeared.
Yep. They distract her. They're better than the rest. Yeah, she had to look in.
And they swung open, and she could see the skulls of dead dragons on walls.
Yep. Beyond loomed a cavernous stone hall, the largest she had ever seen. The skulls of dead dragons looked down from its walls. Upon a towering, barbed throne sat an old man in rich robes, an old man with dark eyes and long silver gray hair. Let him be king over charred bones and cooked meat, he said to a man below him. Let him be king of ashes. And then Drogon yells here, right? And that's how she moves on. Kyle, anything to say about this one?
Well, it's Ares? I forget all their fucking names. I'm sorry.
Ares was her dad.
The Mad King.
He's the one that burned everybody.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Well, was he the one that burned everybody with the dragons? I know one of them.
No.
Aegon the Conqueror.
Aegon, that's who I'm thinking.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of
I'm sure there's a lot of
Aegon that burn people with dragons. Yeah,
but Aegon is the one I'm thinking of.
Aegon's the one that came 300 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. That's who this is?
That's who I was thinking it is.
Okay.
All right. So
next door.
So she's thinking that the last door was Viserys, like in a.
Yeah. So my notes say that when she stops at the next door, her first thought is Prince Viserys, but then she realizes the man.
She's not at a door though.
It says my notes say the next door she stopped at had a man inside that made her think of Prince Viserys.
All right. Drogon shrieked, her claws digging through silken skin, but the king on his throne never heard, and Dany moved on. Viserys was her first thought. The next time she paused.
Yeah, paused at a door.
But a second glance told her otherwise. I think it's the same door.
Maybe. Well, the scene definitely changes, right? We get a totally different scene. It's not a man on a throne anymore.
Maybe it's another door. I don't know. It just never.
I mean, I only assumed it was another.
I guess she moved on. I guess, but.
And then it says the next time she paused. Where did she pause at? The next door.
Yeah.
She stopped.
Gotcha. Yeah. She ran. Okay. Yeah. So basically, she at first in this door she thinks it's Viserys, but then she realizes the man's eyes were dark indigo rather than lilac, and he's a little bit taller. And then we get two people talking.
Aegon.
He said to a woman nursing a newborn babe in a great wooden bed.
What better name for a king?
Will you make a song for him?
He has a song. He is the prince that was promised, and his is the song of ice and fire.
He looked up when he said it, and his eyes met Dany's, and it seemed as if he saw her standing there beyond the door.
There must be one more,
he said. Though whether he was speaking to her or the woman in the bed, she could not say.
The dragon has 3 heads.
He went to the window seat, picked up a harp, and ran his fingers lightly over its silvery strings. Sweet sadness filled the room as man and wife and babe faded like the morning mist, only the music lingering behind to speed her on her way.
Yeah. Kyle, what thoughts about this one?
So my thoughts about this one was Rhaegar.
Okay, I will say that most people think this is Rhaegar because his first son's name was Aegon, right? The one that the mountain smashed his head against the wall. His son.
Yeah, see, I didn't even know that. I was trying to connect it to the characters I know from her tree, I guess.
Yeah, I say with Jeff, like we talk about like how much like we should tell you off like when we're off air, or sometimes even in the spoiler section, and I feel like part of the point of the podcast is to like even you are reading this as someone who's like should be getting like a lot of knowledge and not like paying attention to everything. Not that I'm going to pay like, but we've heard Aegon's name 3 or 4 or 5 times at this point. Again, it's a baby that like, who, why is he important? But like, it's not important, but it does kind of like give you like intel on this vision. So I don't think it's a huge spoiler to say like,
oh no, I don't think that was a spoiler. Sense. I thought you were making fun of me for not remembering who this baby was.
No. I'm sure most people don't know who this baby is. I mean, if you don't know who this baby was and you still got to the same conclusion that most people get to with this one. So why did you think it was Rhaegar if not for the baby?
Like I said, it's just I got a small pool of Targaryens to choose from, and I was trying to pair it up. The other one was a king. This one is not, it seems.
Well, the baby is the prince that was promised, so.
I don't remember that. Sorry.
No, I mean, it just said this.
Oh, yeah.
The baby's a prince.
Like I should have connected that to something that would happen before.
No, I'm just saying if the baby's a prince, then
okay. Yeah, then I guess he is the king, yeah.
Is it not of royalty?
Well, I'm saying like for a lot of these prophecies, right? Like the point is let's do 2 things. Let's try and get the reader to like, or the person who's, get the reader to A, kind of know what the scene is, like you just did, it's Rhaegar. But then B, give you a little more information that you don't know about this person before that you could make some guesses or whatever, right? So kind of what Jeff was saying is, what do we hear in this prophecy besides like, okay, now we know who this is. He's saying some like weird shit. Like, he's saying that his son, who we know is dead, he's saying he's the prince who was promised. Doesn't seem like he was promised to be a baby who lives for like a year before he gets smashed against the wall.
Well, that was the same as Dany's baby. That was the prince that was about to mount the world.
So okay,
right,
cool. But then we go into this has 3 heads. Again, I'm not trying to lead you, but like,
and then a dragon has 3 heads, and they need another one.
Well, so like, just like, what does that even mean? Like, the dragon has 3 heads. Like, we know that we know he had 2 kids, but then he's like looking at Dany. Does that mean like Aegon's 2 kids who got killed by the mountain and Dany are the 3 dragons? And like, that doesn't even make sense because like Viserys was alive like when those kids were alive.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, this is one of the things that people still talk about. Like, what the hell does this shit mean? So this is kind of why I'm just talking freely, because I feel like I'm hopefully not spoiling anything. But
when you don't know anything,
I connected it to her having 3 dragons. I guess that's a very easy, probably low hanging fruit connection. But
well, they do get into a big 3. Like 3 is a big thing that happens later too, right?
Yeah.
And they call her like mother of 3, like shit like that. So that's like makes sense of these dragons. Like, or there's 3 of them, so that makes sense.
But at the same time, I thought this guy was trying to have 3 kids.
I think that's what it is.
It's like a Targaryen thing. Maybe it's 3. Like you have to have 3. Like the 3 that.
Yeah.
So kind of what you were saying earlier with the door before, if that's Aegon the Conqueror, he conquered Westeros with his 2
sister wives.
So and Aegon, I don't know.
Yeah, don't go too far.
No, I don't know. I don't know how far to go. Do you know what I was gonna say, Jeff?
I don't even want to mention it if I'm right. Let's just talk about it later.
Okay.
All right. So she sprints down the hallway and she ends up running out of doors on the left, and then it's a descending staircase. So from the rules, only doors on the right and never go down, only go up. So she's at her first, like maybe her second qualm. Is that the word?
Yeah.
Qualm?
Dilemma.
Quandary.
And the torches are going out behind her, and it sounds like some demon thing is scraping its like peg leg in the darkness after.
Slinging slasher. Yeah, it's like
hash slinging slasher.
Yeah,
Kyle's too old.
This is what I was alluding to earlier, where like there might be nothing coming. It might all be like in her head, or she's literally tripping balls here, probably right on the shade of the evening shit. So like, who knows if there's actually anything, but she at least feels like she's under pressure. And I don't know, theoretically that was on purpose by when they gave her that shit to try and make her make these split decisions. Cal's saying it's not too hard. I don't know if I would have thought about this under pressure after just seeing like a bunch of weird ass shit.
I'll tell you what,
tripping balls.
I'd have been scared shitless. This is like a haunted house. It's like a haunted house, and you're on
drugs. You're on like psychedelics, basically.
I'm a little bitch pussy when it comes to haunted houses. I want to run through that. Like, I'm just sprinting through it, dragging whoever's with me along.
The chainsaws with like rubber blades.
Yeah,
that, like,
they touch me.
Yeah, fuck that shit.
No, not happening. I don't think I'd went in. I think I just chilled at. I probably would have went to the pleasure ship. Let me see what you got. Sorry, I ain't going in there. Let's see what this girl can do.
You say this girl's gonna make me sing?
I'm a pretty lame fucking tenor. Let's get it going.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd have got in here either, but Danny's got more gusto than we do. So
well, that's why I know we'll remember our names.
So she figures it out. She goes through the door. She figures out that the last door on the left is the same as the first door on the right.
Because she turned around and she's like, "Oh, it's on the right." It like took her that long to figure it out.
She's a 14-year-old girl, Kyle. Give her some fucking.
And the hash-slinging slashers coming after her.
Just go down the steps, man.
If this is a video game, Nelson's died twice trying to figure out where the first door on the right is.
True, trial and error. All right,
is this a checkpoint? I got to know if this is a checkpoint or not.
Well, no, it would have probably been 3 times because the first time he would have been in there and got gnawed to death by those rat people.
Yeah, I would have gone into every single door just to see what happened.
He was ready to get that one pumping between his thighs.
Moving on. What happens when she goes to the last door on the left?
Pia Pre's waiting there for her.
No, I think she just like goes in circles to a bunch of more square doors, right? Bang, 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 like 7 times.
Whenever she gets out of it, that's the next thing.
Once she's out of the weird dizzy circle of square room, she bang back to Pia Pre, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
He's standing there, same kind of door she came in, shaped like a mouth. He's outside. He's like, "How are they done with you so soon?" She's like, "What the fuck are you talking about? I've been in here for forever.
I haven't even met anybody yet. Like, I didn't meet the Undying yet. What's going on?" He's like, "Okay, you turn the wrong way. I'll take you to them. Yep. Follow me." She's like, "Nope, motherfucker. There's a door to my right, and I'm running through it."
She thought about it. It almost tripped her up.
She did.
It's tricky.
This would have got
a tricky
me.
Thing.
I think this one would have got me.
I mean, again, if it's a checkpoint, Nelson's taking.
He's the guy who gave you the rules, right? When the guy that gives you the rules is then trying to slip you up, it's easy to be like, "Oh wait, you're the guy who told me how to do this." Like, of course you're always right. So
it all depends on your social awareness.
He did say you must listen to everything I tell you, and then here he is telling her something.
That's what I was saying. Like that could be
That's true.
Like, you know that game on like that Flash game, like the stupid idiot game? Like press this button if it says no or whatever. You know what I mean? Where it's just like meant to literally trip you up. Like that's what Kyle's saying is you would fail if you didn't go with Pyatt here, because like technically he said listen to every single thing I say. When you see him later, you should listen to him instead of going to the door to the right.
Yeah.
I don't know, unless like PEMDAS like does what he said earlier, Trump what he says later.
Please excuse me. Yeah.
Order of operations. Yeah.
We'd have to ask Tom for sure.
All right.
How does a warlock's house work?
So she figures out he's fucking with her, and she goes through the door, and as she does, he starts yelling, and his face caves in on itself, and he goes all pale and looks like a worm.
Yeah, and I think that's like, all right, I made the right decision.
Yeah, for sure.
I hope that's some shit out there. Not like, damn, I should have went that way.
Is this like the first hint to her that like this house is meant to trick her?
If the door on the left wasn't,
like if Pyatt Priest trying to pull me, well, all right, last door on the left, but that's kind of just like,
well, and the William Derry thing, like he was like, oh, take my hand, come here, you know, like the other doors weren't really trying to get her in, but like Kyle said earlier, like the William Derry was like, oh, come to me.
So I feel like at this point she should have a pretty sound understanding that she's being tested.
She is also still tripping balls. I'll point out. Yeah,
I kind of want to know how much of this is actual like tripping.
She's just like in a room, like literally a square room with like, 3 doors the entire time, just like and Pyatt's just like outside, like listening, and that's why when everything catches on fire, he's like, "What the fuck just happened?" She was just in a room by herself.
I need somebody else in a POV to take it just so we can compare.
Yeah.
So
Well, the way that it came to me at the beginning, it didn't sound like it was that high of a dose. But I mean, I could be very wrong. But he like kind of was like, it'll just take the fuzz off of your eyes, knock the edge off, like a shot of whiskey before going in.
Yeah. At some point, she mentions that from the outside, I think it's when she climbs stairs. She's like, wait, there was no tower from the outside. Like, how the fuck am I going up this high?
Well, even just like right away. And that's like maybe to Kyle's point, it might be more the house than it is the drugs that like she drinks it, goes in, and within 2 doors, like has to be 30 seconds.
It's a funny house. It's already a funny house.
Yeah. So.
And it's a fucking warlock house. Like I knew before even her going up the street to it that it'd be freaky, right?
Yeah. So moving on. She keeps going.
So she gets to some stairs and she heads up, and she just reminds herself that she's the blood of the dragon. She can't be afraid. And then she finds these big ass doors with a great hall and a splendor of wizards.
Weird ass doors. Yeah. So the doors are like weirwood, which is white, and then ebony, which is black. But they're like, it's not like one door is white and one door is black. It's like they're each like
swirling and twisting,
interwoven into each other. The door had to be hard as fuck to make, or it's not real. But when she gets to it, they're already flung basically the whole way open. So this is important because I didn't really understand what was going on in this room. So these doors are basically flung the whole way open to the point where they're touching the walls, right on the inside. So she gets to this door and she comes in, and then what were you saying, Jeff? There's a ton of people.
Yeah, this is like what is made to think these are the Undying.
Yeah, they're telling her that they're Undying. They all look pretty fancy.
They're warlocks. They're fancy.
We've been waiting for you. Yeah, it's like a big celebration scene of like, hey, you made it to the end,
Yeah,
congratulations.
Yeah, she says they're all wizards. They're like, one of them's like, oh, come sit with us. We'll tell you all the truths you came for.
We sent the comet. Like, we sent the comet to show you the way.
We've been waiting for you for 1,000 years. Yeah, all this shit.
And
there's music in here. There's literally sun shining through like stained glass. Like it's just like fucking beautiful. And Drogon.
And they even tell her like she passed. Like you passed. Like you finished.
What do they say that makes Drogon flutter away?
She took a step forward, but then Drogon leapt from her shoulder. He flew to the top of the ebony and weirwood door, perched there, and began to bite at the carved wood.
Yeah, this is after a warrior in shining emerald armor tells her that they have knowledge to share with her and magic weapons to arm her with. And that they're going to come over and sit. We'll answer all your questions. And she takes a step forward, and Drogon's like, nope. He goes back, perches on the door. And then a man's like, oh, he's willful. We can teach you how to...
See, I think you have this back a little. So I think he goes forward. Like I think she's still outside the room, right?
I don't think
she has to be.
No,
she sees the doors. No, I went back. I was thinking the same thing earlier, and I went back and read it. She's inside.
I don't think so.
Because earlier when she sees the doors, she literally says like, they were the most beautiful thing, but also they were fearful. And that's when she tells herself, like Jeff said, like, I'm the blood of the dragon, I can't be afraid, and she walks through. Like it's literally like
I don't think she walked through that. So what I think happened is that they're flung open.
Find that line.
Finally, the stair opened. To her right, a set of wide wooden doors had been thrown open. They were fashioned of ebony and weirwood, the black and white grain swirling and twisting in strange interwoven patterns. They were very beautiful, yet somehow frightening. The blood of the dragon must not be afraid. Dany said a quick prayer, begging the warrior for courage and Dothraki horse god for strength. She made herself walk forward. Beyond the doors was a great hall of splendor and wizards, yada yada yada. King sat when he saw her.
I know it's a different sentence where it says she made herself walk forward. Beyond the doors was blah blah blah. You don't think that implies that she walked through the doors?
No, I think if she would have went in that room, I think she's done.
It's the first door on her right.
She didn't go in it. She didn't go in it because it's not the first door on the right.
So then me and you have a different picture. I think we have a similar picture, but a different idea of how these
all
giant
right, so
doors look.
I think she walked into it because it was the first door on her right. The doors open to her right, so she could walk into them. She had to walk into them. And then there was just another door to the right inside that room.
We'll keep going. Maybe there's a different quote that'll clear it up.
Oh, maybe.
I don't
think
if
you're saying that it's the first door on the inside, then I guess that counts.
Yeah, on the inside there's my picture is the doors are flung the whole way open, like I said. So you're standing outside some giant doors. They're flung away from you to the point where they're touching the walls on the inside of the room. When she goes in, she gets tempted.
Yeah,
she takes a step.
I agree.
Takes a step forward towards them. Drogon flies backwards and perches on the door. I think the door she just came through.
But inside the room.
Inside the room.
Yep. Yeah. I agree.
Basically and starts biting at the door. Basically telling Dany, like, pull this fucking thing backwards and look over here. So then I think she goes over and pulls. She says, like, I tried to push the door. It took, like, all my strength to push it. And behind it was a secret door, like old pale wood, splintered. You want to read that quote, Jeff?
You're right. It's through which she'd entered. So, okay, I guess it makes sense. And this room is still just a trap, but it was not a right trap, really.
It was an even bigger trap. She actually had to go into this one, but, like, not stay here, right? But yeah. I think it's... Yeah. I never even... This is the first read-through. This is the first read-through I've ever really realized what was happening.
I'm sure first read-through I didn't even care.
Yeah, I thought the same thing you did, Kyle, where she kind of, like, walked by this room into another door or something. But yeah, now I think she's actually in it. Drogon, and that's why Drogon saves her ass. Like, does she?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Drogon's basically like, "Yo, yeah, pull this door back."
She thought she was done, and why wouldn't you? Because you're in this room that's got no doors. It's got the people claiming to be the end. So that makes way more sense now. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so she pulls the door back, sees it, and goes through. And again, this kind of reminds me of fucking. I feel like I've said this before already somewhere in this, the last Indiana Jones movie. I know Jeff hasn't seen it. Kyle, you've seen The Last Crusade?
Is that the cup?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like the lame chalice.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, there's like a bunch of, like, fancy chalices, and then, like, one that's just, like, made of wood and looks kind of like shit. And
what would a carpenter drink out of?
But even before that, he goes through, like, all these trials where it's like only the penitent man will pass, and basically he has to step out onto a bridge that he can't see, right? Like, I kind of feel like that whole sequence is a little bit like this. Like, you don't risk temptation, do what they tell you, have some faith. I feel like all that whole sequence, that whole last part of The Last Crusade, including the last part being like don't choose the fancy one, choose the one that makes sense. These guys are undying, old as fuck. They're going to look like they're undying, old as fuck, not these young ass, like, handsome wizards, right?
Not these great
they're
looking
also
people.
Warlocks, so I wouldn't be surprised. I had no preconceived notions what these people are going to look like, because...
Yeah. I mean, how could you? I mean, like, Pyre doesn't look
he's
shitty other than blue lips. Like, all right, so she comes into the last room, which is filled with a long stone table. Above it floating a human heart swollen in blue with corruption, yet still alive, beating. It beat a deep, ponderous throb of sound, and each pulse sent out a wash of indigo light. The figures around the table were no more than blue shadows. As Dany walked to the empty chair and at the foot of the table, they did not stir, nor speak, nor turn to face her. There was no sound but the slow, deep beat of the rotting heart.
How big is this heart?
I don't know.
She says it's a human heart swollen, so...
Yeah, I mean... so
Basketball-sized heart?
But the thing is, like... massive. Well, no, hold on. Don't like... But a human heart looks like any other animal, like, for the most part, any other, like, mammal's heart. So if it's too big, why wouldn't you just say, like, oh, it's a bear's heart, right? Yeah,
because it's bigger than a bear's heart.
I don't know if it really matters. Well, then it would be an elephant's heart or something. It wouldn't be human.
Maybe it's even bigger.
Well, then you don't. What I'm saying is,
maybe it's bigger than the biggest. Maybe it's bigger than the biggest mammal's heart.
But it's a.
And Dany didn't take bio, so she doesn't know what a mammal's heart is. So it's the only heart she knows.
Saying she ate a horse heart, which is where her knowledge has to be coming from. So I'm saying it's smaller than a horse heart.
Well, it didn't look like a horse heart. It didn't look like her horse heart that she ate.
Maybe she smelled it. It didn't smell like a horse
heart.
All
right. Everybody around her is just sitting there dead. So she comes in and introduces herself.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, something starts talking to her.
Yeah, when she sits down, nobody was saying anything, and finally a voice came, Mother of Dragons, and then a bunch of echoes, dragons, dragons, dragons. But it's like all this like weird whisper, right? She's hearing like male voices, female voices, even a child's voice. Like, it's really weird. And she's like trying to remember what she had to say to him. Like, she had practiced like what she was going to say, but it's like, A, she can't remember, and B, it's like hard to even like talk. Like, it's like something about this place like makes it hard to even like speak.
Mm-hmm. Like she's losing her voice.
So then, yeah, as Jeff said, she introduces herself. I'm Daenerys Stormborn of House Targaryen, Queen of the Seven Kingdoms of Westeros.
I'm sure we did, and I'm sure I'm going to sound like an idiot, but it finally like completely clicked that, and I feel like we might have had this discussion already, it completely clicked that she was a bastard as well. Right? Isn't that Stormborn, not Targaryen?
Well, no.
No, she was born during a big storm.
Yeah.
So maybe that's...
Okay. Like the worst storm of the century.
Yeah.
Well, then I shouldn't have preface that with all my incorrect information.
Well, I was gonna even ask you, like, has she called herself this before? I feel like we haven't really heard.
I don't think
call
so.
Herself
and
this. Like I think we've heard mentioned maybe once early that she was born during a really
like
bad storm,
Stormborn or something like that, but not just last name.
Yeah, she doesn't
I just assumed
go
it was
by
like
saying
Snow or
Yeah,
I forget any of the other ones. Rivers.
You're saying like she's taking this as her surname almost.
Well, she says Daenerys Stormborn of House Targaryen, which is kind of like Jon Snow saying like Jon Snow of House Stark, right? If you're trying to.
No, I don't think so. I think it would be like Jon the Ghost of House Stark.
If he's not a bastard, you're saying.
Yeah,
I could see. What I'm saying is I could see where
like
Kyle got this.
Jamie Kingslayer of House.
Yeah, I agree. What you're saying is like what it is. It's like a nickname.
Yeah.
But like I could see what I'm saying is I see where Kyle's
yeah.
coming from.
Yeah.
If you're a bastard, you would just like tag your. If you came from like an actual like famous
big
house,
yeah,
maybe actually tag it on.
This is her claim to fame.
Yeah. But no, she's not a bastard.
All right, so she can see she's starting to make out some of the people at the table. She can see an old man right next to him.
Wrinkled,
wizened
hairless.
features, wrinkled, hairless. His flesh was bright, violet blue. His lips and nails bluer still, so dark they were almost black. Even the whites of his eyes were blue.
So hang on real quick on this. This was making me think of something. Jeff, I don't think you have seen this or read this, but Dune. Kyle, have you seen or read? You didn't see the movie either?
No.
In Dune, this isn't really a spoiler. In Dune, there's like a drug called spice that the people who live on the planet where they mine spice, it makes their eyes blue. Because basically, not only do they use the drug a ton, but it also like, it's like because they live on the planet, it's like kind of like in the air follicles, so it's like in their food, like very little bits, like so they just are always ingesting this shit, and it makes their eyes blue. And there's also like a different drink that a different group of people in Dune drink that is more like Shade of the Evening that makes their lips red. It's a different thing, but I just can't see how there's not like George. I mean, Dune is so old, and George is a huge Dune fan. Like, there's no way that like Shade of the Evening isn't an homage to Dune in some way. Like George wanted this like drink that these warlocks have, and I don't know, making this guy's eyes blue. I feel like has to be because that's like a big thing in Dune is these people with blue eyes. You guys haven't seen it, so nothing to talk about, but just wanted to call it out to any fans.
Yeah, it probably is.
All right. And they can also see an old lady, ancient woman across the opposite side of the table, whose gown of pale silk had rod on her body, and she had one withered breast was left bare in the Carthene manner. So her breast withered in the fake undying room. Perfect breast.
So that's a good point, Jeff. I didn't think about this. Are these people? Were the people in that fake room?
Are they illusions of those people,
or were like what those people like? These people were
started at?
Yeah, I wonder.
I don't know.
I mean, Danny does mention there's only one.
I'm only taking what George has given me. Yeah. I'm very.
It's an interesting thought though. She does mention there's only one woman in that other room, and like here she can only see two of them on this long table. But interesting thought.
And she realizes none of them are breathing, and are they actually dead?
Yeah, they're not moving, they're not breathing, they're not even looking. Like none of them turned their head when she walked in, or when she started talking. So she's thinking to herself, "Are the Undyings actually dead?" And so they're in her thoughts, right? First off, they're reading her thoughts because they answer her thoughts, and yeah, like this weird echo. They're all like answering, kind of like in unison, and yeah, they say "live," and they're like, "Yeah," and we know, no. And she's basically like, I'm here for answers, bitches. Give me the truth.
Give me the truth. I want the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
I think I deserve it.
We live in a world with walls. Those walls have to be surrounded by men with guns. Who's going to do it? You, Lieutenant Weinberg. All right. Sorry, I'm not going to do the whole thing.
You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall.
All right. So what do they tell her? When she's like, she basically like, hey, I came through this long-ass hall earlier, saw these weird-ass visions. Was that shit past? Was that shit future? Was it true? Was it false? What the fuck does that shit mean?
Explain some of this stuff I just walked by, please.
What do they say?
The shape of shadows, morrow's not yet made. Drink from the cup of ice. Drink from the cup of fire. Mother of dragons, child of three. Three?
She did not understand.
3 heads has the dragon.
The ghost chorus yammered inside her skull with never lip moving, never a breath stirring the still blue air.
Mother of dragons, child of storm.
The whispers became a swirling song.
3 fires must you light, one for life and one for death. and one to love.
Her own heart was beating in unison to the one that floated before her, blue and corrupt.
3 mounts you must ride, one to bed, and one to dread, and one to love.
The voices were growing louder, she realized, and it seemed her heart was slowing, and even her breath.
3 treasons you will know, once for blood, and once for gold, and once for love.
So we don't have to go too far into this one, Kyle, but this is a thing that like people think is big, and they try and figure out like there's 9 things basically. Not so what is it?
3 treasons,
3 fires.
3 fires you must light, 3 mounts you must ride, 3 treasons. Yeah. So people, this is a big thing where people are lots of theories of the fire for love is this, and the mount for dread is like
the treason for gold is probably Viserys.
And then Winds of Winter comes out, and we're all wrong.
Or we're just never going to know, and people are just going to argue.
People will have spent the last 15 years guessing, and then...
Yeah.
All right. Does Kyle want to make any predictions?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't... It seems so vague. Still, like, I'm sure it's going to...
Let's go through it real quick. So what is it? Fires to light, right, is the first one.
Yeah.
Well, she lit the one, right, at the pyre, funeral pyre.
Okay.
I don't know if that's love.
Is that death or life or love?
So it does give birth to the dragons, but Drogo's... I mean, he died before that.
Mira dies.
And it was love.
But he loved Drogo. So that kind of...
So, I mean, it's hard to pick one of those.
She killed 3 fires with 1 fire?
It was big fire.
All right. 3 mounts.
What is the cup of ice and the cup of fire as well?
The shape of shadows. Morrow's not yet made. Drink from the cup of ice. Drink from the cup of fire.
So right before that, though, Dany says, what did they mean? And their answer, if you take this literally, like, as their answer, like, what did those earlier visions mean? The shape of shadows, Morrow's not yet made.
So the past and the future.
Yeah. Drink cup of ice, drink cup of fire. I mean, the one vision did say Song of Ice and Fire. I mean,
what's a cup of ice and what's a cup of fire?
That makes sense. Yeah, I don't know. Mother of dragons, child of 3 heads has a dragon, right? That kind of calls back to that, but it's not, again, very cryptic, doesn't really answer anything.
She's the mother of dragons, the child of storm, and then it gets into the 3 stuff. So
yeah, so going back to the 3, the next one was mounts to ride, right?
Yep.
1 to bed.
Drogo.
1 to dread.
Drogo.
Yeah. And 1 to love.
Drogo.
She can't kill everything with one stone.
I mean, they could be. Kyle theory. And what's the last one?
But I mean, I'm assuming. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that, I guess. Like, I'm trying to think of like who else would fit into any of these. Like Jorah, Viserys. I don't know how they'd be horses. I guess
I will say that one that people throw out there that you've already said, that a lot of people think that some of the stuff hasn't happened yet, so that could also be a thing. But one thing that
I'm trying to answer questions that might not. Yeah, exactly.
I will say that one that people, for the mounts, a lot of people do think it's like people she has sex with or had sex with, but like some people try and keep it like actually to like animals like that she rides. So the first one, a mount to bed, the first time she rides her horse Silver, who is not super important, but it's kind of like a named horse. She rides that to go sleep with Drogo for the first time. So people think a mount to, you have mounts to ride, a ride to bed is literally because she goes to ride to sleep with Drogo on her wedding night. So that's like a kind of
dread would be like the war horse that she rides into a battle or something.
Exactly. Yeah. And then love, maybe one of her dragons, if she rides a dragon that she loves or something like that. Right. So, treasons to know.
Yeah. 1 for blood, once for gold, and once for love. So that's a double. Is that 3 loves?
Love. All of them had love, but the first 2 are always different.
I mean, the gold, the only thing we know about like somebody that has kind of treasonous over gold really had been Viserys, right? That's connected to her at least.
Yeah.
Directly connected.
He sold her and got killed by gold.
Sold her, yeah, exactly, and the gold crown. So I don't, I don't know much more than that.
I mean, she doesn't know much more than that. You could say he's her blood too. Once for blood. I mean,
well, blood's not. Yeah, he is her blood.
He's selling her,
but not by blood, but for blood. So I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, moving on.
Like I said, she also doesn't seem to know either.
No.
She's like, I don't understand any of this shit.
Yeah, they're just like, she's asking for clarification. They're just even more cryptic, basically. and like, I'm
like, help me, show me. And they're like, help her, show her.
And like I'm saying, this is
her.
Even the thing I said, the mount for bed, like people still, like there's people who have a ton of different theories on all this stuff. So we'll definitely talk about in the spoiler section what Jeff and I think in the spoiler section. But yeah, we'll keep moving on for now.
Yeah. All right. So we get a bunch of visions here soon because we get a bunch of shit. All right. Viserys screaming with molten gold crown. A tall lord with copper skin and silver gold hair. Do we want to go one at a time, or?
Yeah. So I mean, some of them are easy. Like, the first one's easy, right?
Stuff we've already known.
Yeah. Some of them are easy, right? So we don't have to go too long. Let's just ask Kyle for each one, right? First one, Viserys, see him killed. You basically just re-sees it. Next one.
A tall lord with copper skin and silver gold hair stood beneath the banner of a fiery stallion, a burning city behind him.
Is this Rhaego if he would have lived?
That's what most people think. Exactly. Yeah. This is one of the Morrows that could have been or not to be or whatever. Like the super cryptic thing Pyatt said out front, which is kind of why I brought it up. That like we don't really know any Dothrakis with Dany's type hair, and her son was supposed to be a badass, and the banner of a fiery stallion, right, gives a lot of hints to that. So yeah, that's what most people think.
Rubies flew like drops of blood from the chest of a dying prince as he sank to his knees in the water and with his last breath murmured a woman's name.
I'm thinking, this one I didn't understand, or I didn't get.
All right, no problem. I
don't even have an idea. Like, I mean, who do we know that's in the water? Is Jory? No, Theon. Theon's the name I'm looking for.
Theon likes to be in the water.
I mean, or Stannis. I don't know. I don't have a good answer. Yeah, I mean, Stannis has a woman, right? You know, the red
dying.
Woman.
All right, so one big key word would be dying prince. If you want to take that to the bank.
Yeah, everybody dies, Jeff. Doesn't narrow it down at all.
There's only so many princes out there. Not everyone's a prince, so it narrows it down pretty.
Who else is a prince currently? Joffrey, I guess.
So what?
Well, Viserys is not currently around anymore, and we just had a vision of him. And Rhaego never was around, and we just had a vision of him. We think you should get this one.
Do you know of any past battles by water?
Famous princes who died.
At a battle on...
Well, I mean, is this Rhaegar again?
That's what most people think, right? Rhaegar, yeah, because we knew he died.
Robert died on the
Trident. We call it the Ruby Ford because rubies flew from his breastplate. Right.
Okay.
I think we hear that.
I forgot about that.
Again, we've heard a lot of pieces of evidence here and there. That one's early in Game of Thrones when on the way down to King's Landing they stopped by the Ruby Ford, and Arya and the butcher's boy when Micah had gone to look for rubies originally.
Look for rubies, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Moving on. Glowing like sunset, a red sword was raised in the hand of a blue-eyed king who cast no shadow.
Well, that would be like Stannis has a red sword right now, right?
This is one that most people think Stannis, and I asked Jeff this one earlier before you joined the thing, hang out, and I was like, what if Kyle doesn't get this? Do we give it to him? Jeff didn't get this one. Jeff didn't know what this one was.
Yeah,
I'm gonna call you out. Suck it, Jeff.
You can call me out.
Kyle got it so quick. We spent like a minute on this one with you.
No, you didn't.
What was Jeff's guess?
I just said like, what? What are you talking about? Like,
I don't know.
Wasn't even thinking. Okay.
Cast no shadow. I guess that kind of ties into the whole shadow creature thing too.
Yeah.
A cloth dragon swayed on poles amidst the cheering crowd.
I mean, how am I supposed to know what that one is?
I think we're going to get into a bunch more that are way more vague. Yeah.
From a smoking tower, a great stone beast took wing, breathing shadow fire.
I don't know any other dragons. Like, I mean, what are the first three? I forget their names, or the last three.
The ones that we have now?
No, we had three that were named before. Maybe they're the three biggest. Or something. I don't remember.
Balerion,
Meraxes, and Vhagar.
Yeah, maybe it's one. I don't have an answer.
I will say in between so we're getting these visions, but also like the Undying are also like whispering to Dany in the middle of them. So after the first three, they said Mother of Dragons, Daughter of Death. After these next three that we just went through, it says Mother of Dragons, Slayer of Lies. And then we get the next ones. Next one was her silver was trotting through the grass to a darkling stream beneath the sea of stars.
Does this matter? I just thought she was seeing her horse.
Just another vision, yeah. Next one. A corpse stood on the prow of a ship, eyes bright in his dead face, gray lips smiling sadly. Again, this is pretty vague. A blue flower grew from a chink in a wall of ice and filled the air with sweetness.
I mean, the only wall of ice we know is the north wall, right?
Is the wall.
The wall, yeah.
So then they whisper again, Mother of Dragons, Bride of Fire, and then the visions start coming faster and faster and faster. Mm-hmm. Shadows whirled and danced inside a tent, boneless and terrible.
No idea.
Obviously.
You do know. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. A little girl ran barefoot towards a big house with a red door.
I mean, that's the house with the red door.
Yep, the Danny keeps remembering.
Right?
Yep. Miriam's door shrieked in flames, dragons bursting from her brow.
So a dragon popped out of her head? Is that what?
Looks like it. Okay. I mean, it's kind of what happens at the pyre, right? Then behind a silver horse, a bloody corpse of a naked man bounced and dragged. This one I think you should remember, but Jeff didn't remember it either. It's a one chapter thing. When
you say it, it would be like
the guy who tries to poison Danny. That's what Drogo does with him. Is they drag him behind the horse. A white lion ran through a grass taller than a man. Again, this is just memory tests of the first book. Drogo went out on a hunt and killed a giant white lion. And Danny has the pelt. She wears it sometimes. I think she wore it when she rode into Karth. So I think this is something that already happened. She just seen the lion that Drogo killed for her.
Okay.
Beneath the mother of mountains, a line of naked crones crept from the great lake and knelt shivering before her. Their gray heads bowed.
I mean, this was like when she got married or whatever.
So she was definitely there, but
inducted.
I don't remember them ever coming out of. Crept from a great lake and knelt shivering before her. Like when she was there, she went into the lake.
Didn't she have to what did they do in the lake? Did they have?
She went into the lake and then she came out of the lake and she had sex with Drogo on the beach and everybody cheered, basically.
Yeah.
But I mean, this might have been we didn't get the whole entire time written of when she was there.
You're right. There might have been some other thing happening, but it's definitely not something we saw. Is at least them coming out of the lake. And then the last one is
recall.
10,000 slaves listed bloodstained hands as she raced by on her silver, riding like the wind. Mother, they cried. Mother, mother. They were reaching towards her. They were reaching for her, touching her, tugging at her cloak, the hem of her skirt, her foot, her leg, her breast. They wanted her, needed her, the fire, the life. Danny gasped and opened her arms to give herself to them. And then Drogon literally slaps her in the back of the head. Like, wake the fuck up. And she does, and it's not all these slaves that are crying to her. It's all the Undying, and they're all grabbing all over her and grabbing her boobies, and one of them's licking her eyeball and trying to suck it out. One of them's biting her neck.
One bit her pretty good, right? Yeah, I guess at the end they say
biting her eyeball.
Yeah, trying to licking her eyeball, trying to suck it out. It's weird.
The hell?
And
what the hell's going on here?
Again, this is kind of weird, but my understanding of what happens next is Drogon goes for the heart and starts biting it and lights it on fire. And when he lights that on fire, they all catch on fire.
Well, it's almost like it's their power source, kind of. I took it as.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking he can't be lighting them on fire. Or he'd be lighting her on fire.
I think. Right? Do they all burst in fire, or is it
she can't be on fire.
They are dancing in the flames, right? So.
She does say that they're on fire. Yeah. At one point, they all catch on fire.
So I mean, is he just blowing enough fire in this room? We don't know. I mean, there's a long table. We don't know.
I would read it, but I suck at reading. Kyle, go read it. Then Indigo turned to orange. You do suck at reading.
Then Indigo turned to orange, and whispers turned to screams. Her heart was pounding, racing. The hands and mouths were gone. Heat washed over her skin, and Danny blinked at a sudden glare. Perched above her, the dragon spread his wings and tore at the terrible dark heart, ripping the rotten flesh to ribbons. And when his head snapped forward, fire flew from his open jaws, bright and hot. She could hear the shrieks of the Undying as they burned, their high, thin, papery voices crying out in tongues long dead. Their flesh was crumbling parchment, their bones dry wood soaked in tallow. They danced as the flames consumed them. They staggered and writhed and spun and raised blazing hands on high, their fingers bright as torches.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he set them on fire after he tore up the heart. He set them on fire.
I think he just lit the entire place on fire.
Yeah.
Which
fire flew from his open jaws, bright and hot. She could hear the shrieks of the Undying. Yeah. So he sent them, and then she
lowers her shoulder.
Gets up.
She lowers her shoulder, but when she runs through them, she says they're basically light as air. She gets to the door, calls her Drogon. He's following. Then she gets to another weird, long ass hallway. This one's got no doors, long and curvy, and she just starts booking it. And she feels like the floor is trying to trip her. And basically she just gets to the end, right? Nothing really happens there. Another door looks like a mouth. She stumbles out. There's Pyat Pri.
Jibber jabbering.
In some weird language and hopping back and forth on his feet. And he does not look happy. And she looks over her shoulder. And his House of the Undying is like smoking big time.
Howling curses Pyat Pri, drew a knife and danced toward her. But Drogon flew at his face and quick.
Ricardo whipped him. Or Jago whipped him. It was the sweetest sound she had ever heard.
Knife went flying.
Yep. Whip made the knife go.
Ricardo slammed him to the ground.
Jorah's there to...
And Jorah comes to Dany. End scene.
End scene.
So, Dany-wise, we're in a worse situation than we were at the beginning of the chapter. At least at the beginning of the chapter, Dany had one more option. Now what's she going to do?
Now she
take all her knowledge.
So, yeah, this is like where it gets really strange to me. Like, did they actually burn? Like, or like, what was the end game? Like, why did they want to keep her? Why did they want to eat her? What's that?
Why did they want to eat her?
Keep her. But why do they want to eat her? I mean, maybe that's just how they maintain their power. And
I was just asking another question.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like, I mean, I guess they want to try and take control of the dragons, but at the same time, they didn't seem to be like against her too much. Maybe it was tied to just her not being worthy in the sense that she had asked too many questions of them, and didn't understand their prophecies. I don't know. I guess I'm trying to figure out when this switched from a, I'm not going to say friendly, but a neutral encounter to a, like, no, this girl's never leaving. Like I said, I didn't feel like this whole setup was to get her to stay in this house forever.
You're saying until we said that, or until you read the chapter?
Until I get to the end, I guess.
Gotcha.
But even then, I still don't feel like the setup was purely to get her to stay inside.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't even know where to go with this one.
Yeah, I mean, and if you can't, you can. It maybe gives you something to talk about later, but you can answer it in the spoiler section. But that's kind of where I'm at. Like, it's so strange that Pyat seemed like okay. I mean, I guess everybody did warn her against the warlocks and all that, but
it kind of makes me think of his role. So he's not an Undying. He's just a warlock that
follower of the house or whatever is my assumption.
It's weird that we really haven't seen any more of him, but presumably there'd be more of the Pyat types than there would be of however many people were in that Undying room, right? There'd be way more acolytes than there would be masters or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Who knows? Maybe they're like the Sith. Only one apprentice.
So people have to get out of this place at some point, right? Like
well, how many people go in there if you're not a warlock is my thought. Like when she's going in, Pyat even says to her, like, a mortal man doesn't go into here.
True. Yeah, no, it's very strange, obviously.
But yeah, I mean, so one thing I'll say before we close out is this chapter is mark it in your book. If you put like sticky notes in your book for important chapters, I'd put this one in there. This is something that people this is one of the chapters probably gets reread more than any other chapter just because of all the visions and stuff. People trying to figure out what it means. Yeah, besides that, I think it's a cool chapter. Again, this is probably a chapter, it's like you said at the beginning, Kyle, better for me and Jeff because
it makes
some
sense.
of the stuff has more meaning. But yeah, I mean, even going through like I hope that going through it like with us made it a little better for you because we did point out some of the stuff that, again, I'm not saying you should know, but you could know at this point, and we just kind of help point them out for you.
It's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. So we might have a long spoiler section, so we're not going to linger any longer, but
I don't feel like I was too far off on any of them, right?
No. And like you said, even my second time through, like
you got the one before Jeff did, yeah. Stannis one. So, all right, well, we'll see Kyle in the next one for Tyrion. Bye-bye. It's got to be 11, maybe 12.
I think it's 11.
11. Tyrion 11. See Kyle in the next one for Tyrion 11, and we'll see the rest of you guys in the spoiler section.
Bye.
Bye, Kyle. Like, subscribe. Join
Later,
Discord.
Join our Discord.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Bye, Kyle. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next time on Tyrion 11. Boy, what's your hot takes?
All right, let's just go. I don't even know.
All right, let's just go through all the shit first.
Okay.
The first five visions she sees when she's going through the long room. We got Red Wedding.
What's the point of? Hold on. What's the point of the banging the girl?
All right, so that's the big question mark one, right? That's the one we don't know.
All right, so we'll leave that one for later.
Let's go through the other four real quick.
All right, so we get the Red Wedding. Robb is in fact dead.
Robb's dead. Then we get the William Derry one. I don't think there's much question to that. This William Derry, House of the Red Door, Lemon Tree. The only thing is it Braavos?
Is it Braavos or is it Dorne?
It's not Braavos, obviously, but
so
we've had that conversation.
Right. You couldn't. You couldn't take a tree and like pot it, and it just can't survive there because there's not enough sun.
The people who are on the Braavos side say she lived with the Sea Lord of Braavos, who we know has a menagerie, which is basically like a personal zoo, right, with fancy ass animals. Okay. It's not crazy to think you could have like a lemon tree outside of like a fancy ass house he has inside like a walled area. Mm-hmm. The other thing though is like we know that like Braavos doesn't have much wood, right? Wood in general, like we'll hear later that like all the houses are stone just because they don't have trees, so it's way cheaper to build things out of stone than it is wood because you got to import the wood. Right. So the thing that makes her recognize this door is it's a wood door frame with like animal faces carved into it, which doesn't seem very Braavosi. But again, if she's living in the Sea Lord's palace, who's basically like the richest dude in Braavos,
there's a chance.
Yeah, like it's not impossible.
I thought the whole thing was that a lemon tree could never survive in Braavos.
That's the thing, but again, that's what I believe. But you got to play. Yeah, I'm trying to play sides.
Yeah, okay.
The other side, that's what they say is
this guy was fancy as fuck.
It's seriously not the perfect time. She's living with the richest guy in Braavos. He could make it happen.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm cool with that one.
Next one, basically see the throne room with Aerys, the Mad King, yelling, "Burn them all."
Do you think this was? Wait, but he was
said Aegon the Conqueror. Like he's totally wrong. But again, I wasn't gonna tell him that.
Yeah. Well, so like I don't know if this is Aerys. And I'll tell you why.
Beyond loomed a cavernous stone hall, the largest she had ever seen. The skulls of dead dragons looked down from its walls. Upon a towering barbed throne sat an old man in rich robes, an old man with dark eyes and long silvery gray hair. "Let him be king over charred bones and cooked meat," he said to the man below him. "Let him be king of the ashes."
Was Aerys an old man?
He became old. And maybe not old, but he was like 50s. They said he had long silver hair, and he had let it. Like one of the big things about Aerys was that like he wouldn't let anyone come near him with a blade, so his fingernails grew like crazy like literally like feet long in his olden days.
So when he's saying "let him be a king over charred bones," and is he talking about Robert? Like, I'm just going to burn this shit to the ground and fuck
he's
you?
Maybe talking to Jaime or Rossart. He's probably talking to Rossart, who, when Jaime kills Aerys, he basically comes into the throne room through, like, a side door, like a Kingsguard back door. Rossart, who's the hand at the time and a pyromancer, is coming the other way. He kills Rossart before he kills Aerys. Jaime says at one point later, we'll get to it, he says, like, no one ever mentions Rossart. Like, I killed him, too. No one ever says shit about that.
The hand slayer.
Yeah, exactly. It's basically what Jaime's saying. But I'm assuming that's who Aerys is talking to, is Rossart. It's like, go burn them all. Go light all the fucking wildfire under King's Landing.
All right, I'm fine with that. I didn't think he was old. Though.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. He's not, like, people say the Mad King. One thing that a lot of big theorists, people who are really into Song of Ice and Fire, most people agree he wasn't really mad until later in his life. Kind of like how we know Egg from Duncan Egg.
Yeah.
Normal dude. Totally chill. Everybody loves Egg. We know later he causes Summerhall. Whatever happens, he burns basically half his family alive in Summerhall. So people could call Egg the Mad King for sure just because of that event.
Because he locked them all in to try and hatch an egg.
So without getting too far into it, because there's enough to talk about in this, but there's a point during Mad King Aerys' reign where he basically gets made prisoner at he's like a prisoner at Duskendale for I think over a year, and Tywin basically does nothing because he's pissed, and then he basically sends Barristan Selmy, and Barristan Selmy basically rescues him single-handedly. So, but a lot of people think that whatever happened to him at Duskendale, like he was basically tortured like Ramsay tortured Theon, and that is what it's literally a 180 flip. Yeah, he was a normal dude who goes in, comes out, and he's a fucking loony. First off, he's paranoid as fuck, doesn't let knives come near him, right? That's when his fingernails start growing crazy. Like, that's when a lot of weird shit starts happening with Ares. So, to your point, he's not, people say he's Mad King. He's not like an old, crazy, mad, like people think.
I just didn't think he looked old. I thought he kind of looked younger still.
I think he probably wasn't as old as people think, but he probably looked old because of the he wouldn't let people cut his hair, he wouldn't let people cut his exactly.
I'll pick up what you put now. All right.
And then last one, Rhaegar
is Aegon. So the big thing is, like, who is Aegon? Is it dead baby? Was that actually Aegon? Is Fagon Aegon? Is Jon Aegon? Is Dany the third of Rhaenyra, Aegon, Daenerys? Right? Those are our 4 options.
Kind of. So people think weird stuff about this. People think, could this be Rhaegar talking to Lyanna?
Right. That's who I thought.
Could this be Rhaegar talking to Lyanna? I don't think so. It doesn't make any sense. The reason it doesn't make any sense is because that implies that Rhaegar named his second son
the same as the first son. Unless he was obsessed with having 3 kids with a boy named Aegon.
He also says, like, the dragon has 3 heads. There must be one more. At the point that, like, first off, Rhaegar isn't with. If Lyanna is Jon's dad, if Lyanna's Jon's mom, Rhaegar's not there when he's born, right? Rhaegar's dead already. So that doesn't make sense for that. There's a lot of reasons it doesn't make sense. He says there must be one more, but at that point, both his kids are dead. So, like, there must be 2 more then, right? Jon and 2 other people, because you're down 2. You had 2, you're down 2, so now you need 3 more. So, like, there's a lot of reasons with him talking to Lyanna. I mean, I don't think there's anything. I don't know. I don't think there's anything really special to it. I think it's him talking right after Aegon's birth.
So it's a lot lamer if it's the Martell girl, just because it doesn't give any. I don't know if it's lamer. More sense. It makes more sense, sure.
So you might not know this, Jeff. You might not know this, but you know what? Like, basically after Aegon's birth, so right after this event happens in the histories, like, the birth took a big toll on the Martell girl, Elia.
Okay.
Like, the maester said she can't have any more kids or she'll die.
So do you think that's a big reason for the falling out?
Well, say you're Rhaegar. You're convinced. You need a 3rd kid. 3 heads has the dragon.
But is that ahead of another dragon?
What do you mean? You say
he changes mothers. Does it change the head of it? Is that the head of a new dragon?
Well, I'm just saying, right here at this moment, at the vision we're getting, if you're Rhaegar, you're convinced that you need 3 children to fulfill this prophecy. You're sold on it. You love Elia. Like, you have no, like, it's not like you don't love Elia. She just birthed you 2 children, but she can't do it. Like, some king
say had to love her.
I'm just saying, some king, like, say a lot of kings, like Walder Frey. If Walder Frey believed there was a prophecy and he had 2 kids and he needed a 3rd one, and his wife, he thought that if his wife had another kid, it would kill her. He wouldn't give a fuck. He would just have another kid with that wife, and she'd die, and he'd have another kid. The fact that people say that the fact that Rhaegar went for Lyanna, it might have been something that Elia was on board with. Like, maybe he convinced her of this. Like, I need another kid, and she's like, I'd rather be with somebody else than me die. Like, go find somebody, right? Some people think that she was on board with it.
So Lyanna was actually kidnapped.
Which kind of goes to her talking, which kind of goes to the point of that's what this whole vision is about.
Okay.
Right? Is basically Rhaegar talking to his wife about this, right? Aegon, what better name for a king? Will you make a song for him? He has a song, The Prince of His Promise, A Song of Ice and Fire.
I mean, at this point, does she know that she can't have another kid? Like, we don't know that.
I mean, they basically told her after Aegon's birth, and in the histories, they say they told her after Aegon's birth and Aegon's.
After, like, the minute after, the hour after, a day after,
we don't know how long this was after, though.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why she might not know that.
But there must be one more. He said, though, whether he was speaking to the woman, or Dany, the dragon has 3 heads.
All right, so what does that mean for Dany?
I mean, I'm just saying, if you're Elia. Say, I get what you're saying, but say you are Elia, and say you just had this baby, and then you got the news you can't have any more kids. And then Rhaegar comes to you and says, oh, what a name for a king. And you say, oh, you're going to make a song for the kid I just had? And he says he has a song. He's the prince of his promised. His is a song of ice and fire. There must be one more. The dragon has 3 heads. Right. Say I'm Rhaegar. Say you're Elia.
Yeah.
Say I've mentioned this prophecy to you before.
I agree with you. You don't have to say it again. I get it. She's on board with him finding another mother.
Or I'm just saying this could be him being like, hey, I know we just got this horrible news. And again, this is there's a bunch of assumptions I'm making here. But I think it would be kind of cool if we found out somehow that a maester literally comes to her and is like, hey, you can't have any more kids. They go into a room by themselves, and this is the very next thing that happens, right? This is Rhaegar literally saying, she's like, are you going to make a song for our kid? And he's like, he has a song. He's the prince. Like, this sucks, but there has to be another one. This is the very next thing he kind of says to her after that. Again, there's no proof of what I'm saying.
Who gave the prophecy?
Rhaegar thought it was him for the longest time. Maester Aemon tells us that Rhaegar thought he was the prince that was promised. At some point, he changes his mind.
One question I had was that it says a child, it says like Daenerys, a child of 3. And I guess she's a child of 3. Like, why couldn't they be what maybe Viserys was the prince that was promised?
Exactly. And I think maybe Rhaegar thought that that's how it was going to go. And then when Viserys was born, he's like, fuck, there's supposed to be 1 boy, 2 girls. I don't know. Who knows what Rhaegar was thinking? You know what I mean? Like, he might have thought it had to be this
2 girls, 1 boy thing.
Which goes weird because, like, if say we go back to at the time of Rhaegar's prophecy, he is looking at Dany here. Right?
Yeah.
I don't think Jon, again, I think probably Jon is Rhaegar and Lyanna's kid just because that's how the show it just would make more sense, like just because of everything that's already happened. But coolness wise, I think it'd be cooler if Jon wasn't their child, but they probably still had a child. Right. We know the prophecy, like Rhaegar's prophecy, he thinks that if the 3 heads of the dragon, we go back to Aegon the Conqueror, boy, girl, girl.
I don't hate that. I don't hate the thought that Dany could be R plus L.
R plus L equals D.
I don't hate that thought. Actually, Visenya,
because if he's trying to go for his naming convention, Dany's real name would be Visenya. That's one of the problems. It doesn't make any sense to give Dany a fake name that's also a Targaryen name. Like, if you give her a fake name, the point is hide her Targaryenness. You don't also want to give her Daenerys name. Yeah.
She's also running around as Daenerys Targaryen. So I think the one thing that might lend that some fruit, I don't even know if is that we meet an Aegon, whether he is Aegon or Phaegon. Like, would the book really introduce a third Aegon being Jon? So we get baby smashed Aegon, then we get maybe Phaegon, and then we get a third Aegon. We find out it's Jon. Like, I feel like that's Aegon overboard. Again,
there's a chance that Jon's like. I think the accepted theory now. Shouldn't even say there's a chance. The accepted theory is that Jon is the prince that was promised. He's not named Aegon. The whole you need 2 sisters and a boy thing is just a miscalculation by Rhaegar.
I mean, I think that could be a super miscalculation.
Like, I mean, the whole thing is like that's prophecies. Like, who knows what the fuck part of it's true, what part of it's false? Like, who knows what these people think is right and wrong?
Isn't there something? I think you've talked to me about this, that dragons are genderless.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
which is weird because in Fire and Blood they definitely refer to like the she dragon and stuff like that, but theoretically I think it's more of like a dragons if they need to. If there's only 2 girl dragons, well, if there's only 2 girl dragons, theoretically, like in 3 years you might have a girl and a boy dragon. Like, one of them could switch over a period of time. Is how I I think there's animals that maybe do that in real life.
Yeah,
I might be totally wrong, but I think that's kind of more how it is.
So now Dany, wait.
So that's the last one. The last one there is an interesting thing about, right? So we talked about it. Do you have anything else to say about that last one, the Rhaegar one?
Yeah, just one more thing. Like, all right, I thought something was going to be mentioned of Dany not being able to have kids in this. I
think Miri's the only one that said that.
So in the show, and I know it's not the show, she walks in the throne room with ashes, right?
I will say one thing I'll say is in the show there's like 3 visions period. Like, she sees Rhaego, like Drogo and baby Rhaego.
Yeah.
And leaves.
Yeah.
She sees the throne room and there's like one other thing, but like
she's about to touch the throne and then keeps walking.
Exactly. But like nothing is like this is a very, very, very different chapter than how this plays out in the show. But go ahead. What are you gonna say? I just wanted to put that out.
She doesn't see, other than Aerys on the throne, she doesn't really see the throne.
No, and she doesn't really even know. She says it's a barbed throne. And that's the other point that why it can't be Aegon. I mean, I don't think there's a chance it's Aegon, but to what Kyle said, like there's already dragon skulls.
Yeah.
Like when
it's definitely
like when Aegon showed up, there was the building wasn't even built yet.
Yeah.
His son built the Red Keep.
So what I was more or less saying was I thought we would get something on her prophecy that she couldn't have kids. So because doesn't she think like I can't be the mother of, I'm already the mother of 3, like that's where she gets on.
Well, I don't know if she thinks about that at all here, but she definitely later on thinks that she can't have kids, but I'm pretty sure that's only we never hear that anymore about Miri.
I'm more or less saying like at some point in the future she's going to be thinking about all of her prophecies, the one she got from Miri and the one she got from this. So she's gonna start pulling them together. Like
I think the
dragon has 3 heads, but I have 3 dragons, but I can't have babies, more or less.
And I think the three threes she thinks of a lot later in the future.
Okay, let's move on.
So going back, let's actually go back. So there's 5 visions. We skipped one. That's the vision with the 4 dwarfs, like raping or
one's banging and one's on a nipple.
But she says there's 4 of them. People think that this is here. I'll read it.
Is it like what Tyrion's in, like the Mummer show? Is it a show?
In one room, a beautiful woman sprawled naked on the floor while 4 little men crawled over her. They had radish pointed faces and tiny pink hands, like the servitor who had brought her the glass of shade. One was pumping between her thighs, another savaged her breasts, worrying at her nipples with his wet red mouth tearing and chewing. So people think this is just like a symbolic. I think the main accepted theory is that this is a symbolic representation of the War of the 5 Kings. This beautiful woman is Westeros, and these 4 dwarfs are the kings. And the reason there's 4 and not 5 is because there's not actually ever 4 kings at the same time. By the time Renly died, Balon doesn't really join until Renly dies. So there's only ever 4.
Okay.
That's kind of the main accepted thing. But I've heard this other theory recently that out of these 5, if we look at these 5 collectively, there's a pattern in that if we exclude this one, the one that we don't know, the other 4 are chronological in that the Red Wedding hasn't happened. The one before that is William Derry, meaning after the sack of King's Landing. The next one is Ares, right before the sack of King's Landing. Mm-hmm. And then the last one is Rhaegar before the sack of King's Landing.
Yeah.
So these are chronological.
This would have had to been
after the Red Wedding is where this theory goes. And also, like, I don't hate the idea that the woman is Westeros and the 4 dwarfs are representations of 4 kings ravaging her, because they are. Like, the Westeros is getting destroyed because of this war. But I don't hate the chronological idea is interesting too. And part of the idea here is that when Bran drinks the weirwood paste, he has similar visions, and his visions are chronological. So if Dany's is similar,
and it's back, I like that she we threw it off that no one's eating, like drinking weirwood tea or whatever.
Yeah, and they do later. People think it's like partially Jojin, but the weirwood paste probably is very similar to whatever Shade of the Evening is for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know. I don't know.
So if it was in the future, again, it's got to be symbolic, where it's got to be. I'm just thinking maybe it is an actual person. This woman is a person, like Dany, or like maybe Dany
I was thinking we know
Cersei
that there's. I mean, the only other group of dwarfs we see are the ones at Joffrey's wedding.
Well, these aren't really dwarfs. They're like, they're smaller dwarfs, but she says they have like radish faces. Like they're. I think them as more like weird animals.
No, I think she's just saying that they have a pointy nose and like I think they're actual people.
Tiny pink hands. I mean, I got they have small hands, but you already said they're dwarfs. You don't have to say they have small hands. Like if you say they have small hands and they're dwarfs, smaller than normal dwarfs. Yeah, all 4 of them have abnormally small hands and radish faces.
It's like Oompa Loompas. They're like Oompa Loompas.
So I'm saying it's weird.
I don't think they're animals. I think they're more like Oompa Loompas.
They're not dwarfs. They're not people. They're something else.
I mean,
Oompa Loompas aren't people.
I think Oompa Loompas are people.
No, they paint themselves orange every day. No, they're a different species. They're like aliens or some shit.
It's just like a different race.
Either way,
it's got to be a crazy metaphor for something, and I don't know what it is.
So I think the big 2 people think for this theory are Cersei or Dany. But again, to go further than that is that one of those 2 is going to get ravaged by something. The whole Cersei.
Well, again, it could be metaphorically. Like, let's think it is Dany real quick. We can say Jorah can be a dwarf rat. Let's say Jorah, Tyrion, the guy,
Hizdar,
and two other guys. I don't know. Drogo could be one. I don't. Maybe not. But whatever. Like, they don't have to be dwarfish rats in a metaphor.
The thing is, anything that's in the future that we don't know of, it's interesting to hint at, but we get real speculative. While we're on it, I'll mention some of the Cersei things real quick. Is that like Cersei? People mentioned to Cersei that like Jaime says, you see a dwarf in every corner now because of Tyrion. Like, once Tyrion kills Joffrey, she's like looking for dwarfs. There's like theory Euron. So while we're talking about Shade of the Evening, Euron drinks a lot of Shade of the Evening later on. He also has Pyat Pree.
Right.
One of the theories there is that like Pyat Pree and potentially other warlocks set sail to go look for Dany after she leaves Karst shortly here, because Pyat Pree's not dead. Like, clearly they don't kill him if Euron has him later. And if they're gonna go, they're probably gonna bring some Shade of the Evening with them because they're warlocks. They're not gonna go without Shade of the Evening. And if Euron captures them, he would then capture their Shade of the Evening and maybe start drinking it and be like, "Fuck, this shit's awesome. I'm tripping balls and seeing all these visions. I'm the king now." Right. So maybe like it all explains kind of where Euron gets it, especially because in the Winds of Winter, I think some of the stuff I'm saying is from the Winds of Winter chapter where we know that Euron has Pyat Pree.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Spoiler.
And people think people had theories even before the show did it, that Euron and Cersei would have some team up at some point. So again, we just have a guy who has Shade of the Evening near Cersei. Cersei has these dwarf things. The dwarf guy is the guy that brings the Shade of the Evening to Dany when she's going to enter the House of the Undying. Just like, I don't know, there's some weird connections. Again, it's all speculation, but I can see it being Cersei or Dany. Just because, again, it says pale woman. We don't gotta linger because there's more stuff to cover.
Okay, we'll take it. Yeah, like I said, I don't know where to go with it. All right, the next one is Pyat Pree turning into a worm.
Yeah.
Just a
kind of weird.
A weird thing.
Things that made me the only thing that this makes me think of is Arya was eating worms, and then when she gets to the House of Black and White, the kindly man has a worm growing. He like appears as a skull with a worm growing through it, and she tries to eat it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he tries to scare her by making his face a skull with a worm, and she tries to eat his worm.
Yeah.
And he says, "No one's ever tried to eat my worm before." That's the only two things I can think of worm. I'm sure there's other places where worm show up in the story, but
just weird. Okay.
Just 3 threes. Let's go through them.
All right, so
let's see what you think. Fire to light, fire for death, fire for love. I haven't really looked up too many theories on this, so I'm just going to be thinking about it with you.
So fire she must light would be Azor Ahai.
I think the fire for life.
Oh wait, she must light for death, life, and love. All right. So she lit a fire for Drogon's death. Are we saying are we going to agree there?
Actually, real quick, before we cover this, let's go over the visions that she sees, because I just also heard a theory that these visions. So remember how I said there's 3 visions, then the Undying whisper to her, then there's 3 more visions, then they whisper to her, then there's 3 more visions, and they whisper to her. There's a theory that so basically they say the 3-3-3 thing. Dany says, "I don't understand," and she like realizes her voice is growing more faint, and then she says, "Show me." Like, they say the 3 thing, and she says, "Show me." And then she gets these visions. So people think that maybe the first 9 visions she gets are literally the 9 out of the 9 of the 3 threes.
So how is that? How are they a light of anything? How are they a fire for anything? None of them have to do with fire.
Maybe you're right. I guess you're right. I don't know what I was thinking of. What theory did I just read? Check. So I totally was misunderstanding the theory I saw earlier. It wasn't related to the 3s at all. So we can talk about that now if we want.
Okay.
I just checked it real quick. The theory I was talking about earlier basically says that the vision, each set of 3 visions reflects the line before it. So, for example, the first one says "Daughter of Death." Okay. Viserys, her brother, dies. Her son dies. Her brother Rhaegar dies. Right.
Where does
it right after those 3 it says "Mother of Dragons, Daughter of Death." Right after those 3 visions.
Gotcha.
The next 3 would say "Mother of Dragons, Slayer of Lies." So these 3 are 3 lies that she's gonna say are not true. First one being Stannis.
Okay.
Azor
Stannis
Ahai,
not being
or
the king that was
Azor Ahai
promised.
or whatever. But maybe she says that she is, or she is the Nisa.
A cloth dragon swayed on poles amidst the cheering crowd. They don't actually want her back.
So cloth dragon, people think is the Mummer's dragon, meaning a fake Targaryen. Is how people take this. So she is the one that reveals that Aegon is a fake. So Slayer of Lies.
Gotcha.
And then the last one being, from a smoking tower, a great stone beast took wing, breathing shadow fire. So again, this is, we probably don't know this one yet, but Melisandre does keep saying, like, I'm going to wake shadows from stone, or I'm going to wake dragons from stone, right? Stuff like that. So again, this could be related to a lie that she breaks for Melisandre, whatever that whole bit is.
Saying that she's going to have some crazy shadow beast.
Exactly. Or people think this might be related to something with Eastwatch, just because smoking tower or something like that.
Okay.
Then the last thing that they whisper is Mother of Dragons, Bride of Fire. So people think that these three visions are related to people she's going to marry. Her silver was trotting through a grass, darkling stream beneath the sea of stars. This is her going to marry Drogo.
She already married Drogo.
A corpse stood at the prow of a ship, bright eyes and his dead face, gray lips smiling sadly.
Jorah?
So pass on that one. I'll tell you a theory.
Okay, well, I'm just thinking, I don't want to say Jorah. I want to say it was the dude who gets Greystone, Jon Con.
Marries Jon Con, okay. And the last one, a blue flower grew from a chink in a wall of ice and filled the air with sweetness. Most people think this is a Jon reference big time because of Lyanna stuff. Again, I'll give my take later on, but...
Obviously, blue flower and... What are we waiting for? Give it to us now.
Well, so let's talk about the Bride of Fire. If we're talking about who she's marrying, then the Jon thing makes sense. But this... gray, but the middle one
I would love. I'm big Jon
for sure,
Danny,
but this middle one doesn't really make as much sense. I mean, even if she is going to marry somehow Jon Con, why is he at the prow of a ship, gray lips, smiling sadly? Like,
yeah. So the ship is what's throwing the ship's what's throwing me because she hasn't gone to a ship yet. So where I heard this theory
that the three things related to the following thing that they whispered was a guy called Indie Geek. I'm sure a lot of people. At least some of the people who probably listen to the podcast know who that is. He's a pretty big Song of Ice and Fire theorist. And what he says this one means is Hisdar. She's already married Hisdar. So if we're talking about brides, that's a done deal. So I guess he's trying to think, how do we get Hisdar to fulfill this? And she thinks that when she comes back to the city, she realizes that he betrayed her with the whole fighting pit thing, even though I'm not sure it was him because he kind of I feel like he took some blows from that at the same time.
Doesn't he?
But he thinks as Danny comes back, blames him for it, and then somehow kills him or something and mounts him to the prow of her ship while she sails to Westeros. Like his corpse or something is on her ship. So that's basically what Euron is doing.
And they made him smiling,
I guess, or maybe the birds ate his lips, or who knows, right? So Euron is doing that. Euron is currently and this is in the Winds of Winter. He has people to the mast. Tied to a mast. He has a septon tied to the mast, and he potentially is going to tie
a red woman.
Well, I think he might have a red priest tied it, but he's going to tie Aeron, so the Damphair, to the front, or not to the mast, not to the mast, all to the prow, to out in the water, right? So basically, yeah.
Where like the statues of ladies would be, like if you decorated your ship.
So basically, at least in the Winds of Winter chapter we have, who knows, George might change it, but that's basically what Euron is doing with people.
Interesting.
So maybe it's one of those people. Maybe that's what this means. I think the most popular, again, so going away from the theories or the visions necessarily relate to the thing that gets whispered afterwards. Mm-hmm. I think most people think that the corpse at the power of the ship is Victarion on the way to Dany, leading up to Meereen, because he has some weird. His arm is turning to stone. It's not grayscale, but he is some weird. His arm's fucked up. Remember, there's that red priest there, and he's I
don't remember it now.
Basically, Victarion has an arm fucked up. He's got this big ass horn. He's trying to get people to blow the horn so he can capture the dragon. He's supposed to blow the horn and capture the dragon for Euron, but he's trying to get his own men to blow the horn and capture the dragon for him. There's weird stuff, but basically there's a particular Victarion chapter, I think, where there's a line where he says he's standing at the prow, smiling sadly, and the reason they say he's a corpse is because whatever the fuck is wrong with his arm is basically
he's going to die.
Yeah, he's gonna die. So I think that's the most accepted one of what that one means.
It doesn't really affect Danny though. Like I don't.
Well, he's literally on his way to.
I know he's going
to Danny.
Yeah.
And get her dragons, marry her, bring her back for Euron or whatever, right? Who knows? Or I guess in the books, his job is go get the dragons.
Yeah.
Go over, blow the horn, get the dragons, come back. So yeah, I mean, it kind of is related to Danny. She's not there right now, but if she was, it would be very important to her. And theoretically, she could be back there around the same time as him, depending on things how planned.
Is he knocking on the door of wherever she is, or is he?
He's getting close, but like where Tyrion and Barristan are at, like things kicking off. Yeah. So if he's too much later, he's gonna miss it. If she's too much later, she's gonna miss it. So
yeah,
the assumption is they're both gonna show up pretty soon, probably around the same time.
All right, let's do.
The last one there is a blue flower grew from a chink in a wall of ice and filled the air with sweetness. So again, most people think this is Jon.
Oh, big thing. I did note sweetness.
Sweetness. I got a couple other sweets to bring up later on after we get through some of these visions. But so a lot of people, again, I'm going to say most, I think, accepted fan theories that this means something about Jon, right? Which might point to the people she's going to marry. And again, if we're talking about people she's going to marry in the show, like Euron says he's going to marry Dany, right? That's his original plan. Maybe there's some shot where she does marry Victarion in order to get his ships. Yeah. I think it's kind of far-fetched, but who knows? Maybe that is a thing. If we do say that, that's who that is.
Yeah.
So the last one, though, for this being Jon, I kind of see it being Jon, but I don't think it has to be through Lyanna. I think in like 2 or 3 chapters, we're going to be a Jon chapter where he captures Ygritte. And Ygritte tells him the story of Bael the Bard. Yeah. And Bael the Bard, a main theme of Bael the Bard is the Winter Rose. And again, we'll cover it more when we get to that Jon chapter, but basically the point is, like, the story is Bael went to Winterfell. He was disguised. He did something to vary, like, the king. So Bael was the king beyond the wall. He went to Winterfell disguised as a bard,
which Mance has already done.
Yeah, and will do again. And when he goes there, he does something. I don't remember exactly, but he does something, and he really impresses Lord Stark at the time. Mm-hmm. And Lord Stark says, "I'll give you any gift you want." He says, "I want the most precious flower from the Winterfell glass gardens, I think," and something like this. And he gives him a blue winter rose, which was like a very rare flower from Winterfell or something. The next morning, everybody wakes up. They find out that the only daughter of Lord Stark, is gone, and on her pillow is this blue rose. Big shit goes on. They try and find her, blah, blah, blah. About a year later, one morning they wake up and the daughter's back in her bed with a baby. And the Lord was just happy that he had his heir back, that the Lord Stark had his only daughter back, right? So now Winterfell the Stark line isn't going to die. But basically the whole point is...
because she's going to take somebody's name getting married.
Well, no, but she didn't get married. She didn't get married to Bael. She just has
But she's going to have to get married to somebody at some point.
Does she? So that's kind of where this goes, is...
The baby's a bastard. It's a Snow.
But if they name him Stark, it might have been when the Starks were still kings. Maybe you didn't need you didn't need a king in King's Landing to make a bastard. Either way, right? So we don't know the rest of the story, but what Ygritte says is the Starks have wildling blood in them. Like, you're just as much a Stark as I am. And the reason she tells him this story is because he says, my father is Ned Stark. And she's like, well, then you're just as much wildling as I am, because we have the same lineage. We both come from Bael the Bard. Right? So, which kind of insinuates that this son becomes the next Lord Stark and takes the name Stark, even though he is a bastard. Right? Again, we don't hear that part. We don't hear the technicalities, but it's very much insinuated.
Jon's dead, so.
But again, a main part of this
is... I'm just kidding.
A main part of that whole story is the blue flower, right? So
yeah,
Preston Jacobs, let's go to my boy. He's kind of on the Jon isn't R plus L doesn't equal J. Again, I think most people at this point, even him, have accepted it's probably going to be what happens. But he proposes a lot of other evidence that could say there's a chance it still goes the other way, which is why one of the main reasons I like his stuff so much. But along with those lines, he says if this isn't Jon, because if the whole like Lyanna Stark is the blue flower, then, and if Jon isn't Lyanna's, then you can't make that connection to Jon here. He says you make the connection to Jon basically by Jon is the one that is a wildling. He's the one that lets the wildlings through the wall. And why does Jon do that? Because he realizes, maybe not consciously, but like Jon is half wildling. He's the Winter Rose. He's the one that's, you know what I mean? Like he's the one that lets
Bael the Bard the first ever wildling that he just made.
No, he was the king beyond the wall at one point, and he wanted to go south.
I mean, that doesn't make every wildling have the same.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, but like the whole point of that story is that there's a connection between Starks and wildlings. Yeah, Stark have wildling blood, so Ygritte and Jon. Ygritte is basically saying to Jon, "Me and you are the same."
Yeah,
and if that takes root in Jon, which it does, he's like, they're just the ones that were. I mean, Tyrion says it in the show, but basically, it's what Jon ends up thinking by book 4 or 5 is they're just the sorry bastards who are on the wrong side of the wall when we put it up.
When the wall was built, yeah.
Like, we're the same. And that's basically what leads to Jon's storyline in books 4 and 5. So, again, what Preston says is that you can get to Jon through the Blue Flower without going through Lyanna, because it's basically the whole premise of the Stark lineage, and it's basically what Jon builds his character arc on, is that we're the same. We need these guys.
Yeah, I get it. I guess just to this point, the only blue flower we've had is Lyanna. And Sansa, maybe?
I mean, and Loras were blue flowers in the tournament at the Hands Tourney. So, like, what? Does this mean Loras is going to go? Again, I'm playing the Preston Jacobs card here of saying, we see blue flowers all over the place. Yes, Lyanna liked them, but so did Loras. So if you're going to say means Jon's here, does this mean that Loras is going to get, like... You can get to blue flowers a lot of ways, is basically the point.
Again, I just said R plus L equals D, so...
Yeah, so I think that's cool too. I think that's really cool. I think, again, I haven't thought it. I don't have all the evidence for it or all the counter arguments for it. I just want
Ashara and Ned to mean something. I think that's kind of cool. I don't know if we'll ever be able to know, but all right.
Let's keep going quick. I think some of these quick ones are good. We got the Mirama's Door tent. Barefoot ran towards the red door. Mirama's Door shrieks as dragon bursts from her brow. Silver Horse, Naked Corpse, talked about that one. White Lion, talked about that one. Mother Mountains, a line of naked crones crept from the Great Lake and knelt shivering before her.
Yeah, wait, let's not skip over the White Lion. You're not seeing anything Lannister there? It's just the White Lion that Drogo killed?
So it could be, but we also, I mean, when I think White Lion, I think Jaime, right? Because he's Kingsguard, all white, and Lannister.
Right, so...
But ran through a grass taller than a man? Like, what did that tell us about Jaime?
I don't know.
That's the only thing I'm thinking is like, well, it's a very short one.
All right, well, and I hate to bring up the show, Jaime isn't at the Battle of the Fields or whatever, or
when the dragons show up.
When the dragons show up and just burn them all to the ground.
Yeah,
and Jaime's trying to ride to kill Dany.
I could see that. That'd be badass if we get a POV from Dany and she says something like there was a white. Again, I don't know how she would ever call him a lion if she's on Dragonback. You know what I mean? Like, how would she know Jaime from the top? But like, I could see that. That could be cool. I didn't think about that, but I've definitely heard the White Lion before be Jaime.
Yeah, I just thought we really glossed over it. We glossed over it really quick with Kyle, which I thought was fine. Because you had a point that he killed a White Lion. I do remember that as well. But I just how do you not think of Lannister when you hear that? So
yeah, the lion, anything lion. All right, well, the last two, beneath Mother Mountain's line of naked crones crept from a great lake and knelt shivering before her. Their gray heads bowed. So we've been here before, Vaes Dothrak, but we haven't. Yeah, this didn't happen.
She's gonna burn that. She's gonna burn that bitch to the ground.
So I don't know if many people know this. Preston Jacobs is has crowdsourced Wins a Winner. So basically, he puts out an outline. He puts a video with an outline. I think I talked about this before. He puts a video with an outline.
Maybe to me. I don't know if you talked about it online.
He basically tells people, submit your chapter that follows this outline, and I'll edit it together, take pieces from here, pieces from there, pieces of my own, and make a chapter out of it. He's done 2 so far. The first Dany chapter and the first Arya Hotah chapter. And the first Dany chapter is this scene where she goes to...
all the cows?
She gets, because the end of Dance of Dragons, she's captured by the Dothraki again, basically. So she gets taken back, hangs out with the crones. And I don't remember, again, I only listen. I don't remember. He reads it on YouTube. It's not that I read it anywhere. I just listened to him read it on a YouTube video one time while I was folding laundry. So I don't know it like the rest of the books, but I don't remember. But I could see this being a thing where maybe after she burns everything, their dresses were on fire or something, and they had to run to put themselves out, and then they came out and bowed to her or something. I don't think that's how it goes in the chapter, but I could see this being a thing, and I doubt Preston would miss something like if there was a theory about, or if there was a mention of this in the House of the Undying, him not making a callback to it, or at least the people who wrote the chapter, somebody would catch that.
How's he crowd? Just really quick, he's just saying like, fuck it, whatever. Like, all right, we're talking Danny. Like, he's making the outline, or
yeah, he makes the outline.
So he's really writing his own book, just of what he would want to see.
Yeah, well, again,
he's letting other people write the book that he wants.
He's saying, hey, if you subscribe to my channel.
Yeah,
I'm
write something
you
on this
buy
outline.
most of my theories. We're basically taking most of my main theories as gospel at this point, and we're running with them. But they're pretty good. Like, you might want to check them out. I think the Area Hotel chapter is really cool. The Danny one's okay, but I mean most Danny ones are okay.
No,
the Area Hotel.
I've been meaning to. I don't know. Oh, I've been just meaning to read The Winds of Winter. I haven't even gotten that.
Those ones. He brings back the Janos Slint's sons. Because I think they were actually sent to Doran with Ares Oakheart or somebody, and he actually brings them back. So I don't know. There's just he has some like callbacks that like if you you have to really know the books to be recognizing who these people are. But I don't know. I think it's cool. But yeah, we're getting way too off track for how long this already is. So besides that one, the last one is the slaves. Again, we know this basically happens. She basically
she becomes Misa. Yeah.
So I guess before that's the end of the visions. The thing we kind of skipped over was the three threes. So let's do the threes before we go back and do the normal spoiler section for the rest of the chapter.
All right, 3 fires: death, life, and love.
Yep.
She lights a fire. I kind of see where Kyle was at. Like, she got death, life, and love all from the first pyre that she builds.
If I'm having to put things in buckets, I'm putting that one in my life though, because she gets 3 dragons there.
Okay. So she lights a fire for death. She's gonna burn a fucking city to the ground.
The show she does that to Vase Dothrak.
What's her fire for love? Johnny boy.
So I thought you were gonna bring this up earlier. Your theory. What's your theory that you're all behind because you found that quote? Danny's Nisa. So fire to love. Right. Does John stab her in the heart, which lights up his sword?
Right. No, obviously, like, right? That's. But I was thinking Nisa could be death too. So
her fire to light is when she lights up the sword is her death.
I don't know if it's her death, if it's just death in general.
Well, Nisa dies. Your theory is Danny's Nisa.
Because it lit up her heart.
But her heart lights up the sword.
Yeah.
And if she lets John do that somehow, that's for love, right?
Yeah. I guess it's throwing me off because there's an order to them, right? Like, they give them in death, life, love.
The thing for death, I'm thinking, is King's Landing. Again, maybe not like the show. Maybe like the show. She goes crazy, burns King's Landing. I'm thinking more kind of, I feel like what the setup is that there's secret wildfire somewhere that actually goes off, and she's like trying to burn King's Land, burn the Red Keep.
Well,
but it actually
they even say like they say
fire.
Cup of Fire too. Like, we've heard
Cup
of
of Ice doesn't make sense. So like I kind of write both of those off together as not making sense. But you have a point with the Cup of Wildfire. Like, that happens twice that we know of, I think.
Yeah. All right. Okay. I'm with you kind of on her needing to burn a city because she has a dragon. Like, we know at some point she's gonna have to break. Even if it's not King's Landing, maybe it's one of these Essos cities. Like, she's having so much trouble with these slaves. Like, at some point, does she just burn the whole fucking thing to the ground?
She kind of keeps getting these visions. Like, her last vision of Dance of Dragons is like, remember who you are. You're a fucking Targaryen. How do Targaryens get shit done? They burn shit. So she's definitely having that arc if she's going to start burning shit. Like, people who watch the show only, if they like just start reading Winds of Winter, they're going to be just as upset. They're like, Danny's a bitch. Like, nah, it's like, this is a slow turn. But towards the end of Dance of Dragons, I feel like it's kind of really getting cranked. Like, Danny, again, she hasn't really had a time to prove it and like show it off. But like, in her mind, she's really getting turned towards that. You got to do more than you're doing if you want to get this done.
Yeah.
So I could see her definitely lighting something up. The one for love, I think Nisa's cool. Besides that, I feel like it's hard to, unless like she has to kill Drogon She has to somehow burn. I don't know how that works.
I want to just hold on, just because you just mentioned it. In the show, Olenna Tyrell tells her to be a dragon, and that's when she goes and burns down the fucking field, and the White Lion comes about.
I think the reason the show does that is because in the books that happens in her head. Like she's having memories of Quaithe telling her, be a dragon. But again, it's hard to do that in the show. Like,
and they kind of waste Quaithe.
So yeah, again, so instead of having like characters who we don't remember, like how do you even make Dany do that? Just have a different character who's kind of a badass telling the same thing. Yeah, so
the biggest.
And again,
badass.
it's all in the books. It's really quick, but Dany's having these visions from Quaithe, like remember who you are, Daenerys Targaryen.
Yeah.
Like Mother of Dragons. Like what is that person really trying to tell Dany? Like stop playing this politics game. Go burn some shit down. Those visions mean. So for the love one, I think is a bigger question. Like. I think
that's the one that would be. She's because we know that the guy kills his wife.
So how about this? So like in the show, Dany gets to Westeros, burns people, and she's like, "Hey, I'll let whoever bows the knee to me come to my side." Yeah. Randall Tarly doesn't bend the knee.
Okay.
She has to burn him. She doesn't love him. But say a very similar situation happens with somebody else. Say it happens with Jorah. Say Jorah sees her do a bunch of shit and says, like, I can't be behind you anymore. Yeah, I don't see this happening with Jorah, but maybe Jon. Maybe she kills Jon. Maybe it's a flip of what happens in the show. Again, I don't think anything this is true, but I'm thinking a fire to light for love. I could see it being her trying to stand her ground, being firm, like, you do what I say or you die, and having to just burn someone she loves in order to prove that point. So I could see that being the one for love. But besides that, I think Nissa is a good way to look for the love one. Another thing I think is interesting is because all three of them, Fire to Light, Mount to Ride, and Treasons, all have love in them. I think it would be interesting if all the loves were the same. Like the Nissa thing was somehow the Fire to Light, the Mount to Ride, and the Treason to know was all somehow the Nissa thing, and it was all the love thing.
So
like whatever.
All right, so let's just say there's a fire of love, of passion, like.
So hold on, if we're trying to go down this path, right, of they're all the same thing, I think the way to do it is where can you get a fire, a mount, and a treason all in the same place?
A marriage.
Where's a fire come from? A marriage.
In the heart, in her heart.
I'm thinking.
So I was gonna say Jon stabs her love of the fire to light the sword. She mounts him because of sex.
Treason.
And treason is he kills her. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I don't think it's far. I mean, it's kind of far-fetched. Everything we're saying is far-fetched at this point. But I think if you're trying to say fire, mount, and treason's hard to throw in there. But fire and mount made me think dragon if you're trying to put them together. Right. Well, and then if you're trying to fit treason in there, if you look at show, Viserion goes over to the other side. Like, what if one of them goes over to the other side, but it's like because Bran wargs it, or like something like that, where it's not as clear, like dead, come back to life, and it's more of it just turned against us. Maybe. I don't know.
I'm not against you. Like one of these mounts has to be her riding the dragon.
I think that's got to be Dread. I mean, just because they called Drogon or Bael,
the Black Dread.
Yeah, the Black Dread. Baelon.
No. Balerion.
Yeah, because they called him the Black Dread, I'm like...
So who's bed? Is that Drogon? Did it already happen, or is it to come?
Again, I don't think using the word mount...
She didn't really love Drogon.
I mean,
when he first mounted her. Like, he bedded her. He bedded her. She didn't love him.
I don't think it's impossible. I don't think using the word mount as in like a sexual way is like a bad way to look at this prophecy. But the fact that I've heard somebody say, I think it's more interesting if you think about it, if you exclude like mounting sexually from counting as a mount. You actually have to think about
so let's go silver. Like she rode the silver of the Dothraki. She's going to ride the dragon of Targaryen.
The love is the big question. Like, what the fuck is she riding to love? Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, if Silver and Drogon don't count as the love, right? She loved both. She loved both those animals. Like,
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, one like has
Ghost?
To be.
Does she somehow fall in love with Ghost? Maybe. Jon dies again, lives out his second life in Ghost full time, and she rides Ghost. Then she's riding she's literally riding Ghost,
the guy
who is Jon, who she used to love. That makes sense, but again, it goes against like what we know, like what we think is Jon's gonna kill her. Like Jon doesn't. And again, like that goes against the Nisa stuff. I'm just trying to throw things that could be possible here. It's
like
so weird.
Jorah, like, are we throwing like could Jorah kill her for Nisa? Like, but Jorah couldn't be the prince that was promised.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like whoever kills her has to be the prince that was promised. It's got to be Jon if it's not her. I mean, if she's not the princess promised, it's got to be Jon. I mean, there's a bunch of theories that it's like Sam or
could
Arya
she
or
kill
whatever,
Jon? Could she kill Jon? Could it be opposite?
I mean, again, that's cool. So that's how you kind of get your threes, right? So what if you go fire to light for love? She kills Jon. That lights up the sword. So she's lighting her sword for love with Jon. Then Jon dies, goes into, and she treasons Jon because she killed him. That's for love.
Yeah, but she's
Jon
the lie
dies,
breaker.
Goes into Ghost, and then she mounts Ghost. Again, is that a mounting for love? Would Jon allow that after she again, like if it's a willing, like kill me and do it, but then it doesn't fit the treason one. So
if anyone we know is going to be like kill me for the greater good, it's probably like Jon's up there.
Yeah, I mean, Jon just wants to die all the time. Like, fuck my life, dude. So Jon's just like, yeah, kill me. Just get it over with. I don't want it. I don't fucking want it.
Yeah.
Send me to Ygritte. So the last one. So we've talked about the fire in the mount. Let's talk about the treasons. Treasons for blood.
So wait, I just want to say, like, I'm just looking over my notes. Like, I put Bride of Fire in a different section because when did I put that? Is that at the end? That's after all of them. Because all right, Nisa, we know wife, fire. Like, yeah, that's just like another point. The sweetness of, isn't there a sweetness in there? The blue wall filled the air with sweetness, or the blue flower. Sweetness, we saying is lies. If it is Jon,
his whole parentage is a lie.
His whole is it as simple as that? Could that be
what the sweetness means? I don't know.
Or is he going to be sweet to her and then stab her in the fucking back?
There you go. I kind of like that better. There's some deception in the Jon and Dany relationship whenever that happens.
How is Jon going to learn that he needs to stab Dany? Melisandre? Like, who's going to give him the wisdom of Nisa?
I mean, again, what happens? The coolest thing would be if all these people that are trying to fulfill prophecies, Rhaegar, even Stannis, Dany and Drogo with their son, they're all just missing the mark. And Jon, who knows nothing of any of this shit, does kind of something that he does kind of in the show. He's like, I have to do this. I just have to kill her because it's what's good. And when he does it, his sword lights up. I feel like that would be the coolest way. Like, all these people are trying to fulfill prophecy, and Jon does it accidentally because
then he puts it out and goes to the wall for the rest of his life.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly how
goes Westeros. I think that'd be the coolest way for like one of the Azor Ahai prophecies to be fulfilled. Is if somebody who didn't know they were doing it, wasn't trying to do it, did it. I feel like Dany knows too much about prophet. Like, she's getting forced. She knows more about prophecies than anybody. Bran is getting is just now dabbling in it, but Dany just got what 20 different visions. A
lot. Enough that we've been talking for an hour and 2 minutes.
It's gonna take It's gonna take Bran till Feast of Crows till he catches up in the number of visions he's got to this. So all right, let's keep going for the treasons. First one, blood. I think this is the easy. Again, I don't know exactly how it's gonna play out, but this one kind of makes sense in my head. Treasons for blood.
Rob,
when I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking when Tyrion goes in Book 5 and meets with Illyrio. And then he goes with young Griff, and they go meet the Gold Companions or the Golden Company. The whole that doesn't really make sense because the whole point of the Golden Company was like they were founded by Blackfires to rebel against Targaryens. And they tried to do this 3 or 4 times. They still carry the head of the founder on a spike, his skull in gold. Bittersteel's head dipped in gold on a spike, like. And when Tyrion's talking to Illyrio about like what's going on, like how did you get the Gold Companions to fight for you? He says something like, "Some contracts are written ink and some are written blood," which is kind of a lot. It's a point to the Fagon. It's like, yeah, they're fighting for a Blackfire still. They're doing what they always did. They fought for the blood.
Who would be the Blackfire though? Who would be the Blackfire that fathered Aegon?
So we hear that the Blackfire male line died, but not. potentially not the female line. And then we hear that Illyrio has this mysterious woman whose hand he keeps petrified in his drawer.
Right.
Yeah. So the thought is that Illyrio's
the father of Aegon?
Yeah, and his wife was a Blackfire descendant. Exactly.
Interesting.
So
is that blood? You're saying?
So if there's a treason for blood, say Dany meets Aegon. Aegon says, "Hey, I'm a Targaryen. I'm your brother, or I'm your nephew."
But he's actually a Blackfire.
Exactly. Like all that has to really happen in my mind, all that has to happen for a treason for blood is Aegon has to tell Dany what he's been telling everyone the entire time.
He's not. He's a fraud Targaryen.
And again, I think there's a chance maybe he takes the throne and then he says, "I'm a Blackfire."
He's the only one that could fake her for blood. So
it's the only thing that makes sense to me is the blood. And we heard about the Mummer's dragon like in here, right? And I think Quaithe tells her about the Mummer's dragon as well. Like she hears about the Mummer's dragon. Well, here she hears about a cloth dragon swayed on poles amidst a cheering crowd, which seems like Aegon coming to power in King's Landing potentially.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that's the one for blood. The one we go for gold. Some people lean here towards Jorah, but like Jorah didn't really do it for
Jorah
gold.
did it for freedom.
He did it to be able to come back. Yeah, he wasn't making any money on it.
Yeah. I don't even think Jorah counts in that sense for love either.
I think you could count that for love, but not him loving her.
His love for his
country, exactly. Like he wanted to be home.
Love
I could see him
family.
falling into love, but again, if Jorah fulfills the love one, I feel like it's kind of anticlimactic. If it's one of the things where we never get an answer, Jorah, I think Jorah might be my final answer for love. Like if George never gives us an answer to these things and it's never definitive, Jorah might be, and unless we never get anything better, I would put Jorah. I'd way more put Jorah in the love category than the gold category.
Yeah.
Which leaves the last question
because we never know of him getting. We never even hear of. He's just getting pardoned. He's not getting any other reward but being pardoned, right? So, I don't think he's for gold. I think.
So the other one is real quick. Gold. If we go back to when I'm thinking gold, one of the first places my head goes is Illyrio Mopatis, but then I'm thinking if I was putting Illyrio in a basket, I would say he goes in the blood basket for the same reason I say he's on Team Aegon. So that betrayal, that treason, if there's any treason that happens there, right? So say, you know what I mean? I feel like it's more on Illyrio than anybody else.
And basically the treason is saying that he's not actually a Targaryen. Like she could marry Phaegon and just rule with him. Like that wouldn't be
who cares?
Treason.
And even if that was, who cares if he's not a Targaryen? Like as long as both of them like had a conversation about it and like, hey, I get it that like 100 years ago, our dad, like you were a bastard and I wasn't a bastard. If she was just like, I'm cool with it. You know what I mean? Like we have the same amount of blood. Let's just fucking get it over with and we'll rule for forever. That's not where it's going, but I think it could go there. And that would be the most sensible place kind of where this series could go. But I don't think that's where it's going to go. Yeah. The other thing is Illyrio, like, it doesn't seem like his plan from the get-go was, send Dany this way, prep Aegon, and then they'll meet back up. It seems like he was like, send them into the Red Waste, they're going to fucking die. Or, like, he didn't have any long-term plans for Dany.
Yeah.
So that already might be the treason for blood, right? He might have been trying to go fuck yourself.
Let's go kill both Targaryens while we get Aegon ready.
Well, that's kind of the big mystery of Illyrio is it doesn't make sense. Like, was Illyrio actually trying to help Viserys in any way? Or was it all just like he knew, and if it wasn't, how did he know Viserys was going to die? Just because he's an asshole and he's like, if I put this asshole alone with Dothraki, he's going to get himself killed.
He's going to get murdered in a heartbeat.
Maybe, but like, if that's the case, then like, why even take him in? Why not just be like, if I don't take him in, he'll die. Like he'll never be a threat to Aegon anyway.
I mean, because maybe
just to ensure he's not a threat, I guess. Again,
he's been doing okay without him to that point. I guess
is one of the things that we need more on. But without getting too deep into that, I think if we're going for the Illyrio could fit as the treason for blood too. Again, I think that still leaves a big question of who's the treason for gold.
Well, who would need gold? Tyrion?
Zaro? But Zaro again it doesn't play out the same as the show where he really betrays her for anything like that. Like he does come to her later in Karth, and maybe he shows up later when she's in Westeros. I could see that, and he fucks her over, but right now I don't know.
Yeah. Could Tyrion betray her? Like, is Tyrion gonna end up working into her being her hand And like,
I think I've said this before. Tyrion is totally different in the last 2 books than he is in the show. He's way more, I want to fucking see everyone in that place burn.
Yeah.
So I think Dany's basically this pot of gasoline, and Tyrion is the spark. Is kind of how I see the Winds of Winter going for their 2 relationship.
Yeah, I don't know. Gold might be someone's gonna try and sell her to something.
Some of these things I think we definitely don't know. Some of them I think were probably definitely in the past, like the Mount to Bed. I think, again, maybe we're totally wrong. Mount to Bed, we have no idea what it is, but it makes sense that it could be the silver. So I think we're good. We talked long enough about the visions. Too. I have a few other things to go over. Just normal stuff. Did you have any other stuff, sweets or anything?
No, I'm good. Let's just plow through.
The one is that when Dany's in that room with all the wizards who pretend to be the Undying the first time, the fake wizards. When she leaves, when she runs through the doorway, she says the wizards called for her in voices sweeter than song. Again, just kind of sweeter.
Yeah, don't go to sweet.
Fake, fake sweet. We talked about Rhaegar's kids' names. What about the doors that are made of weirwood and ebony?
I mean, it's similar to the house of
black and white.
Called? The black and white. Yeah.
First thing I thought of. Again, I might just
is that weirwood and ebony too?
It's weirwood and ebony. Again, I might be thinking of. I'm pretty sure it's weirwood and ebony in both, but I might be thinking of just the show when one is weirwood and one is ebony, where I pointed out that this one is like they're intercarved into each other.
Right. Yeah.
For all I know, that it might be the same in the books, and it was just too expensive to do, so they didn't do it that way on the show.
Yeah,
but I'll definitely keep an eye out. But that 100% reminded me of House of Black and White when I saw the doors, weirwood and ebony. We talked about. I wrote this down because when we were talking, like, why would they let Drogon go in? In the in the show,
I mean, shit, Drogon saved. Well, they stole the dragons. That's why.
But in the show, like. What is Pyat? There's no Undying. It's Pyat Pree, right? At the end, Pyat Pree's the only one. But he basically says like your dragons, and we get this. I didn't realize we've talked about this before. Like the dragons make magic come back. Like we know this. Like why do we know this and Kyle doesn't? Well, it comes. I think it's in the next Tyrion chapter, or if not the next one, like a very soon one. He talks to some pyromancers and he's like, "Tell me the counts of your jars." And they give him some counts, and he's like, "You better not be bullshitting me." He's like, "I know you're bullshitting me. There's no way you made this many jars. Like, I could see I saw how fast you were making them before. Don't bullshit me and pull my leg and tell me you started making them 3 times as fast."
I don't remember this conversation.
And he's like, "You better not be selling me jars full of horse shit and just telling me it's wildfire, knowing that like by the time I try and throw them at ships, it'll be too late." And they're like, "No, we promise. Like something happened. Like they literally say, do you have a dragon? Is there a dragon hidden somewhere?" And Tyrion's like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Our spells haven't worked this good in 300 years or 150 years." So I think we get this very soon where we get almost like very
I mean, Kylie's even on that where the fucking have we told him that the dragons being born like sparked magic, or
no?
That was just us.
There's only been one hint of that before, and it's when Miriam Az-Dor says, or not Miriam Az-Dor, Quaithe after the fiery ladder.
After the guy climbed the ladder, which
he says like he could never do this before, and now he can. It's because of you.
Yeah,
but it's very vague. I don't think Kyle picked up on it, but like next chapter, and it might be the very next chapter. I think like next chapter is Tyrion.
It's got to be soon. Yeah,
it's either the next chapter or the Tyrion chapter after that, where Tyrion basically says like, dragons make magic better. So at that point, this chapter where they try and capture Dany, I think will make more sense because like they're magic people. Let's capture Dany and
keep dragons. All the magic with us.
But it seems like what good is Dany without the dragons? It almost seems like capturing Dany capturing the dragons is more important than capturing.
And just make sure the dragons can live so that your magic.
Well, if they're the source of the magic, who gives a fuck about Dany? Kill Dany, which seems like what they're trying to do, suck her eyeballs out and shit, and just keep a dragon in a cage, and our magic's going to be way stronger. Yeah,
but you don't want to cage up a dragon. We already learned that that's a way to.
And again, a lot of what I'm saying here is because of what I know in the show. Like, I think what Pyat Pree says is like, "Oh, you're going to stay here for all eternity with your dragons," because he says something along those lines. It makes us stronger. So, but again, it doesn't get spelled out, I guess, till next chapter for the books.
Yeah. Right.
But when we were saying why did they let Drogon in, I'm thinking maybe they let Drogon on purpose because they wanted to capture Drogon.
But it's super weird that they molest her instead of even try to chain up Drogon.
Yeah, do anything to stop the fucking fire breathing monster in the room. Exactly. Yeah. I get that. We talked about this a little bit the connection between Weirwoods and these weird blue-black trees.
Yeah, yep.
I mentioned to you, I think, off air that there's a theory somewhere that the Children of the Forest, when they did whatever they did to cause
they cut off the network.
But yeah, when they cut basically Westeros from Essos, causing the Hammer of the Waters, which is where we have the what's that called? The Stepstones now. Those islands in between Dorne and Essos. Basically, that was a land bridge. In the way the tales go is that the Children of the Forest use some magic to cause the oceans to rise or a huge tsunami or something or to go through there and just make that islands instead of a landmass. And the theory that I was telling you, Jeff, is that when that happened, before that, Weirwoods were in Essos. But when that happened, the Weirwood networks, which again, the Weirwood net theory is that all the Weirwoods in Westeros are connected underground through a root system.
Yeah.
When that Hammer of the Waters happened, that disconnected that root system to the ones in Essos, and all those ones died.
Turned into the nightshade trees.
Exactly. Basically just turned into the opposite. Even if that's not the case, they're very clearly there's 100% a parallel between the Weirwoods and the Shade of the
Yeah, if they weren't Weirwoods, they're definitely supposed to be the opposite of them.
Exactly. Yep. All right, I think that's all I got.
Whew.
Long one. It's gonna be a long edit. This might be the longest one ever.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully you don't have to edit too much out, but
I knew House of the Undying would be a good ep. So
I mean, yeah, there's so many things to talk about, and so many like just unknown things. Like how many we said like 4 different things for like one thing.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I'm sure there's stuff we missed. I'm sure there's theories about some of these visions that we skimmed over. I mentioned it in the Discord, but I didn't give people much time to write in. So if there's anything we missed, leave it in the YouTube comment or put it in the Discord. If it's too spoilery, we ask you to join the Discord just in case Kyle looks at the comments. We don't spoil them. But yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. And what is it? Tyrion 11. All right. See you guys.
That's what we're telling people.
Fire and blood.
Fire and blood. Bye.